What is up? It's been a while. We're on the Commentator's Curse, Season 2, Episode 8, or something along those lines. We are going live. We're excited. Blur is ranty, which is awesome because that means more things that you guys can listen to on your car ride, your long, tedious day of work, or wherever you can listen to our podcast for 10 hours straight. Blur, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'll admit that we haven't been as consistent as we were last year, this year. But the good news is that, this show is pretty long form as it is. And you can kind of watch the however many hours we put out over a few weeks span if you really want to. And now with our, we're more infrequent, but we have so many topics to go over, so much pent-up rage to just gush out during the show that I can tell you for a fact this might be the best show you get because we got topics on topics. Matter of fact, for the fans at home, I'm going to read them all for you, some of the lists that I got right now. And we're probably going to do more than this. We're going to talk about commentator unions. We're going to talk about coaching, mid-set coaching, and namely, we're going to talk about fake news. I'm going to get to that later about why I'm calling it that. Arms, and its recent announcement that it's going to have a tournament at E3 and what it means. A ledge grab limit and whether it should be implemented into our rule set and what it means, how the tournament recently have been going on. Tournament recaps, primarily for the last week. We're not going to go back all the way until when the last episode was, but like Smash and Splash 2, Smash and Splash 3, and Battle BC. Ace Box's speech that he gave during Smash and Splash. Some mid-year rankings because a lot has changed and, people are losing now. And also a topic that came up in the Smash 4 scene that I think applies to both games is tournament saturation, and what it means for the scene, if there is tournament saturation, all this sort of stuff. So that's just the very basics of what we're going to talk about.
Whoa there, Crimson. I almost ran out of fingers there to count those.
That's a lot of stuff. And you know what? Oh, we should probably talk about the Red Bull event too. There's so much stuff that we got to talk about. So I couldn't even fit all the topics we're going to talk about in one tweet because there's so much going on in Smash right now. There's so much we need to break down. And honestly, so much of the rest of the scene is covering it poorly and doesn't know what they're talking about that we at least have to come here and spread the truth so you guys at least know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. Out of the pick of the litter, why don't you go on and kick off the first topic of your choice? I'm letting you kick us off.
All right, I just to keep us straight. Okay, so where do we go? Whew, geez, this is tough. You know what? We kind of have to start with a tournament recap, I think.
Can we go back and say that Mango won Royal Flush?
Mango won Royal Flush. Put your Mango W's up in the chat. For Mango winning Royal Flush. On Mother's Day, now he has one of the weirdest and coolest streaks in esports with Royal Flush. Shout out to my boy, Tafflekins, his coach. But yeah, okay, let's start with a tournament recap of like what's happened so far since our last show. And overall, mid-year now into the Melee season, what's going on with Melee? What's going on? Who's winning? Who's losing? How's it happening?
Well, I can tell you one person that's not winning. Armada.
Well, I disagree with that general sentiment. Well, he hasn't won the last two tournaments.
And he hasn't participated in the two tournaments before that.
So how long has it been since an Armada win?
Summit 4.
And that was in March?
It was in March, beginning of March.
And we are in June, my friend.
We are indeed in June.
That's 3 months. That's 3 months.
Yeah.
So, greatest player of all time, best in the world. Many say, many don't doubt it. I don't think I doubt it. I don't think I can argue against it. But he doesn't give his challengers many opportunities to upend him. He definitely lets his era last as long as possible through methods like these, potentially. And many looked at the DreamHack Austin tournament and were like, oh, well, Armada was there, but he didn't end up entering. What does that mean? Is this truly a major win for the person who won? But then he comes in, plays the next tournament, and loses. So definitely Armada's stock has dropped a little bit.
But he's still if you look at Glyco ratings, he's still ridiculously ahead of number 2.
I mean, and if you just look at the most important rating, the eye test, my man still looks like by far the best player to me. Like that dude's way too good. I think if I break down his losses and like really look at each and every single one, man, they were by a hair. And especially Royal Flush. You look at that game 5, that edge guard he had on Fountain of Dreams in the first set of Grand Finals, and you're like, how did Armada of all people lose that set, right? And some of it I attribute to rustiness and his absence. You know, you got to kind of be grinding melee all the time and going to tournaments to really stay on top, I think.
Yeah. I actually got the insider report, and I forget which European player told me, but Armada almost felt disappointed after Summit because he was like, I'm kind of letting people catch up. Like, I'm still beating people. Like, what's going on here? And a lot of people, and then like he didn't really play until Royal Flush, and then I think he may have been like secretly happy inside that Mango took it because that kind of motivates him to start playing again because he was literally winning everything.
There's a thing with Armada and Mango, I'd say, where and I guess you could go back to Ken, and he also had this factor where when they win too much, it kind of takes their enjoyment of the game down. You know, it takes away from their enjoyment of the game. And it's understandable, right? Like, you're winning really hard and you're not dropping sets. It's hard to go back home and practice really hard, right? Because you just don't feel that challenge, and you don't know what you're practicing for almost. And if it goes on for an extended period of time, it's very hard to maintain that consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's like the journey is a lot more exciting than reaching the goal. Like, because if you
absolutely. So I think that that has to be a factor, right? Like, Armada definitely. I mean, he retired once before because he was winning too much, and there was a period of time where Mango went Mario and his secondaries for an extended period of time because he simply was winning too hard. And so it's not uncommon in Smash history where we get a really dominant player and then he drops off a little, almost on his own, right? And I don't want to take away from his opponents, but I do think there's been a little bit of a step back from Armada himself, not just his opponents. So,
I mean, he almost lost to Shroom.
Yeah, but Shroom played godlike, bro.
Yeah, it was the best. Did I tell you what the Immortals coach is telling me to do to him? He's telling, like, because I actually had dinner with the Immortals analyst not too long ago here in LA, and he was telling me that Shroom was really mad at me because I put him at 21 for the what was it, the first quarter rankings, and he was like I want to prove Danny wrong because I'm not 21. And then the whole weekend I just started ragging on him. Like, I was like, Dwan, like, sorry, but your tech chasing just really sucks, and like, you're not going to be able to win because your punish game is just so terrible. And I just kept making fun of him the whole weekend, and finally at the end of it he was like, thank you, Danny, because you made me so mad that I want to prove a point.
So maybe Tap has something to do with Shroom playing better. I think you tweeted about this, but knowing Dwan, I think this is what you said was absolutely true. He plays better when people cheer against him. It's so weird. Like, if you tell Dwan, bro, you're so good, you're amazing, great job this tournament, he's just going to do horrible next tournament.
Yeah, like, he'll just go drinking and not think about the tournament.
Miserable.
Yeah.
If you consistently tell Dwan he sucks, like if Dwan ever becomes best player in the world, or if he wins a major, he is getting 25th of the next major. Like, I'm telling you guys. It gets in his head, and I don't know why. He should know by now his place in the world, but regardless, enough of his friends was telling him how much he sucks based on the first quarter of the year that he really turned it on.
Yeah, I mean, the coach messaged me and said, do me a favor and rate Shroom even lower. If you do, I think he'll beat Armada at this rate.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
So it's part of the mental game, but I mean, congrats to him. He had a great run. One thing we should talk about Smash Blast as well is Plup went Fox against Shroom twice. Do you have any context behind that?
Oh, yeah. So I actually talked to Plup, and you could take it at face value. One account I heard from Liz was that his controller broke and that he wasn't feeling comfortable shield dropping. And if he plays Sheik, he's going to play a very, very shield droppy style. The other report I got from Plup was he hates the Sheik Ditto. He hates chain grabbing. He just thinks it's so high variance that he'd rather play Fox. But the funny thing with that is that Dwan is the worst chain grabber, and he doesn't chain grab. So, like, I don't know. Take it however you want, but that's what I heard from the man himself.
I mean, doesn't Plup have an extremely good record against Shroomed overall, right? Like, doesn't he win the Sheik Ditto? Like, what's the problem here?
I honestly don't know. I mean, the Sheik Ditto goes heavily in Plup's favor, and the last time that Shroom beat Plup was when Plup played Fox, I believe, at Big House. So, like, that's, like, the only time Shroom's been winning in, like, the past, like, year and a half.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Plup's got this thing where, yes, he's getting 5th, but he is not getting many Godwins, and we all know his skill, but, like, so how many tournaments now are we going to be like, well, he went Luigi this tournament, or, oh, he went Fox this tournament, or, well, he never actually lost a set with Sheik. Or, there's so many asterisks to Plup's results that you could take it one way and be like, well, he's so much better than even his pretty good results. Or you can take it the other way and be like, dude, end of the day, he lost 2 times to Shroom, and that's lower than his ranking, right?
Yeah.
His contemporary, like the people he's competing against, like SFAT, Chu, all that, like, they're not dropping these sort of sets. So you kind of have to wonder, right? And especially, and we got to talk about Battle BC later, you got to think, like, do we just give Chu 6 now over Plup? Like, but Plup's got to do more than he is, right? Like, 5th is his baseline at this point.
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally, this is like one of the classic, like, peak versus consistency arguments because, well, let's take a step back. Plup, like, a month and a half to 2 months ago, you were saying, like, he could be 4th, right? Like, maybe better than Mango, maybe better than Leffen. Like, there are arguments that you could put him right behind Mutaking, and you wouldn't be wrong. I'm not saying that I would put him in 4th, but now it's like, oh, like, he's probably 6th, maybe 7th, and then with Leffen doing well, you can't put him 5th either. So it's like he's steady ahead of like 8 through 10, but he's fallen off the 4 through 7, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think he's got all the skill for it. It's hard to, like, analyze why he does these things. Like, why does he choose to go his Fox against Shroom when overall he's just beat Shroom pretty consistently on his own without having to go with secondary. But I think you gotta approach it in a fair way and just look at his results for what they are, right? I take his Luigi results as real results. I take his Fox results as real results. Like, you got to be fair with it, right? Because you can't hold him to a double standard against everyone else. So
I think the big thing here is, like, what if he gets, like, relative results and it's like, oh, like, he plays Luigi. Like, what if he keeps doing this for like 4 months? You can't give a placeholder rank to Plup and just say, well, if he went Sheik, he'd do better. Like, I agree with you.
Yeah, because I'm okay with giving exceptions on occasion. But when it's like, this has happened a few times now, you got to take it for what it is, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then now we go to the question, right? Like, Leffen definitely made a step up, and so I don't think you can put him in the same contention right now as Plup, at least with what we've seen in the past few months. I think Leffen fairly gets a nod at like 5th or 4th, depending on whatever. The big question, that you brought up earlier is Plup versus Chu.
Right. So skipping to Battle BC a little bit, Chu dominated Mutaking. Like, it was embarrassing. Like, I mean, when I say embarrassing, I mean it was embarrassing because Mutaking's been playing this game for this long, and his strategy against Ice Climbers is this undeveloped, right? I was like, just if you're just a melee purist and you're watching Mutaking play against Ice Climbers, and let's say you look at his Peach and you list out the number of Peaches who are better against Ice Climbers than Mutaking's Peach, you could probably list like 10 or 12. Like, you can go really far in, right? If you want to list the number of Mars who are better against Ice Climbers than Mutaking, you could probably list like at least 6 or 7, right?
You can pick Shroom's crappy secondary Marth, which is admittedly kind of legit now.
You're watching, you're like, dude, you're so good at the game. This is like, your overall game skill is so far beyond your level of matchup knowledge in this particular matchup that it's like a great argument for why you should never use a secondary as a crutch in this game, right?
Yeah.
Because Mutaking's a counter picker, right? And he was able to get by for no real good reason, was using his secondary peach for a few years, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens? His peach gets bodied, and he goes back to his bread and butter, and his bread and butter has developed those matchups so poorly over time that it's just embarrassing, right? The level of gameplay we see out of him there, and it's combined with a mental aspect, right? Like I was talking to Nintendo earlier today about how King was telling him about, like, basically had no faith in his chances against Chu even before he started the set. Like, King didn't think he could win. He was like already complaining that, if he loses to Amsa, the Yoshi, he'll drop down losers, and then if Chu loses, they meet up in losers bracket together, and then King will get 7th. Right? He was complaining about stuff like that. It's like, dude, why don't you just win? You're King. What are you talking about? You know, like, I don't know, but what I know is that he clearly went into that tournament with less confidence and without much faith in his own ability against Chu, for whatever reason, and he's gonna have to go back to the drawing board if he's ever gonna get better, and he's got to stop making excuses.
I think what's really funny and ironic in this is that King's made a living by either one of two things: being able to kill like a wobble off of a grab, which is most of his matchups, or cheese him out in the matchup by abusing mobility with Sheik versus low tiers, or blatantly just abusing like a 7-3, 6-4 character matchup. And for once, it's like the roles have a reverse for, like, he's picking the character that has to win the neutral game most of the time. And like if he gets hit once, he's dead. So it's kind of funny how like the dynamics have changed.
Right. I think that, I mean, he gave an interview after Battle BC that I think he regrets. I don't think. I mean, I know he regrets, as in he
tweeted that he regretted it.
So he regrets it, but I think his comments in the Bastion show his mentality during the set, especially where he said, "Oh, wobbling's unfair. It doesn't make it fun for me." All this other stuff, right? When in reality, you're looking at it and you're like, Jason, you don't know how to forward air, and you don't know how to down tilt, and you've been playing Mars for a decade. What are you doing, bro? Like, oh my god, right? Like, you look at the very last stock of that set. Chu was just sitting there, literally just standing there. King was on side platform, and he dashes off side platform, double jumps, does the worst forward air in history. I've never seen a forward air this misspaced and this bad. Like, you could take a day one melee player and he would get grabbed or hit in this situation. And this was his last stock strategy. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what? You are a pro player. You are so good. We all know how good you are, King. You can't be complaining about the characters when you're doing stuff like that. Like, you're never going to win. Chu could have not wobbled and beat him. Chu could have I don't even know if Chu needed Nana the way King played. It was so bad.
I think I learned more. Like, if I were, let's say, like, I want to learn Marth versus Ice Climbers, right? I probably would have learned more from watching 07 Korean DJ versus Chudat videos than what I saw from King versus Chudat in 2017.
Yeah, that set, Marth players, if you watch that set and trying to analyze to learn Marth versus ICs, I recommend you don't learn, you use it to learn what not to do. Like, he had like no game plan. And it's like a mixture of no game plan and no confidence, right? So it's like a combination. Because at least at Austin, he had like a little bit of King swagger, and he was... Tafo, can you take the screen grab from the bottom off where you're browsing Reddit? Come on, Tafo. Anyway. So he had no confidence like he had in his previous sets, at least. Where he at least went into it thinking, I'm King, Chu's not really beating me that, like, he doesn't have this mental block, so he's at least able to use his natural confidence of who he is to play the matchup poorly, but with confidence, right?
Yeah.
But now he's playing it poorly with no confidence, and it's just really bad to watch.
We've seen phases like that. We've seen that against Hungrybox. We've seen that against Mango's Falco and Puff. What else has there been that... This isn't the first time we've seen this with King in a character. So I trust that he will eventually get to a place where he eventually learns, as long and painful as it may sound.
Right. And actually, it's kind of like you look at the other Ice Climbers players, and I said it for a while. The fact that they were losing to his Peach for this long, like what the hell, guys? What were you doing this entire time? I know it's a bad matchup, but like, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
it was pretty funny because I believe it was like after the wobbles, after he lost to Diskit Boogie in like early summer, like there was like a good like 9 to 10 month stretch where he didn't drop a single set to any Ice Climbers.
Yeah, like have some self-respect. Like, come on, guys, this is like his fifth character.
You know what's really funny about this? The fact that Chu's counterpick character also tilts King. It's like Chu is like the perfect machine to tilt King in 2017. He plays Ice Climbers and Jigglypuff.
Yeah, it's like the double combo to just tilt King to hell. It's kind of like old Mango when Mango was Falco Puff.
Yeah.
So King was just like consistently tilted because he really didn't like Falco back then. I mean, he still doesn't really, but there's not good enough Falcos to get him to rant about it.
Yeah. I mean, like at one point he was convinced that Falco and Puff are like top 2 characters in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Chu, he's going to be meeting King for the foreseeable future, right? Unless Jason comes in and labs it really hard and stops making excuses. And you got to look at it and you're like, at this point, you got to favor him against Mango just because it's been consistent enough that you got to be honest with yourself. That's better than you can say for any one in the 6 to 10 range, right? Just that alone. And we don't really know how good how he'd be against Leffen or some of the other ones at the top, right? Like, there hasn't been that much data.
And at Genesis 4, he like dropped like a hella wobbles. And he got better since Genesis 4 too.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of in a position where I don't actually know what Chu's rank is, but I'm hard pressed to put him any less than 6th, just because he's beating a lot of people above him. Like, and that I value beating people above him far more than my
losing to Crush and Duansmarth.
Yeah, like then potentially losing a few people below him.
Yeah,
I think beating people above you is going to average out to higher placings than occasional losses to people below you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty fair. You can put him at 6. You have a weird argument that he's ranked higher than Leffen. I'm gonna keep him at 6. You can argue it. I'm not gonna do that, but you can. I mean, argue
DreamHack Austin was really impressive. You could argue it, but I don't think I'd do it. So I think he's 6 right now, and
it's close between him and Leffen too.
Yeah. So it's like a weird list. Like, there's been a little bit of a shuffling. Like, you still have to put Armada at 1, though he hasn't won a tournament in 3 months. Probably 2 HBox.
Easily 2 HBox.
Easily the 2 HBox. 3 is like shared between Mango and King. You probably give it to King. I guess
it's debatable, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, so like the argument is that Mango lost to Chu, Plup, and X. Those aren't bad losses, by the way. And so,
yeah, but...
and King like loses to Chu roughly as equally. King has lost to Wizzy and None.
Yeah.
King does better against Plup right now, but King does worse against Mango, against Armada and Hungrybox.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you can argue either way for 3 and 4.
Yeah. If we're gonna put a verdict down, I'd probably give it to. I feel like I want to give it to King and then Mango, and then after that you got to go 5. 5 is Leffen, 6 Chu, 7 Plup, 8 SPAT, right?
Why not Wizzy?
Could be Wizzy. You're right.
Wizzy's won the last head-to-head. Like, he's 3-0 on. SFAT has one legit set against Hungrybox. The other one's like he had a broken hand. He beat King. Doesn't seem to lose sets to people worse than him. He dropped 1 set to Cole, but overall he's pretty damn consistent against people like that are like 10 and below.
I could see Wizzy there. I was gonna do Wizzy or SFAT next, but let's say Wizzy, and then SFAT Axe is actually still pretty close, actually.
I don't give it to Axe anymore.
Well, because Yahoo Rivalries was really good.
Yeah, he's not
You know?
really getting many wins anymore though, because you can give Axe's Yahoo rivalries, but then I can also match that with CEO Dreamland from SFAT.
Okay, so let's say SFAT, then Axe. And then after him, is it Duck or is it Shroom?
Drugfox might actually also be ahead of Axe.
Whoa, you think Drugfox is the top 10 player?
You can debate him.
Can you?
It's you can. He's debatably around the same as Axe.
I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me.
And Drugfox, did get fourth at Royal Flush.
Royal Flush, that's the big one. And what he got like third at Smash Rivalries.
Yeah. He's up on
That's
SFAT,
tough.
he's up on West Balls, he's up on Axe, he's up on Swedish. Down on Wizra pretty bad though. Up on SUJ, up on Nintendude, up on Lucky, lost to None, beat the Moon, up on Shoodat. Like, he pretty much just loses to like Falcon, it seems like. It's debatable. You can argue either way.
Okay, and you don't think Duck is in this conversation?
No.
So what do you have? You have Duck after the Axe, Drugfox, bundle.
Yeah, and then this tier gets kind of weird. Like, I think it's like some combination of Duck. Shroomed has done really well lately.
Does Shroom jump up this much from just this tournament? You had him at 21 before. Like, are you really jumping him up that much? He got 17th at DreamHack.
Yeah, but
He's
then
done like nothing. He's done nothing until this tournament.
true. I mean, I guess so. This is like the weird argument with Dewan, right? Because he's had two pretty solid performances in the last two tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much do we? This is really weird. Because if I do this with Dewan, then like I have to do this with other people. So I don't know if I want to go there. Dewan's taking.
He did get a Royal Flush too, right? He got like 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dewan like has gone. Maybe we keep him at a soft like 14th place now, but as soon as I think he can jump really high if he somehow manages to turn these game fives into his favor, right? Because he almost. I mean, what would have happened if he beat Armada and beat Leffen?
That's not good enough. We can't. I mean, you can't give people points for taking games, right?
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying I put him at a soft 14, but maybe he has the potential to rise up if he can turn those into wins.
Yeah.
That's the way I put it. I'd probably put him at 14.
Yeah. So here's a question. This is just not going down the list exactly, but how high is Crush? Is he a top 25 player right now?
I put him in top 25 for my before Royal Flush actually.
That's a really big jump year on year for Crush, right? He might end up being this year's like highest riser.
Easily.
Yeah. At this point, he's like if the Smash had a most improved player award like the NBA does, we'd probably give it to Crush, right?
I can't think of anybody else. Do you want me to read his resume to you?
Go ahead.
He's 22-0 against Mafia.
That's absurd.
He's up on Swedish, lost to Ice. He's 1-0 on SUJ, 1-0 on Nintendo, split sets with Chu this year. Down on Drugfox, 1-1 on Professor Pro, 4-0 against Global, 2-0 against MacD, 1-0 against Diskit Boogie, 0-1 against Mike Hayes and Kirby Kazi. I think that's a pretty solid top.
That sounds like a top 20 player, bro, not top 25. I'm sorry. That's a really good resume.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's super good.
He had that heartbreaking set against AMSA. So yeah, I mean, even before this event, like he did beat SUJ at DreamHack Austin, which is something I didn't predict. What MacD, like he has a really clean resume. That like when you start looking at that tier 2, you look at like the KGHs, the Hugs, like Crush is a lot more consistent than most of the players you see there in that tier.
Well, I don't think Hugs is in this tier.
You think Hugs is better?
Than Crush? No.
The interesting
Hugs
question
does not have those type of wins.
The interesting question actually is, I posted this on Twitter a while back. Crush of the Moon.
I mean, your immediate gut reaction is the Moon, just because of like legacy and where he's been. And I think that the Moon it's the Moon, right? Like Moon generally hasn't. I don't think he's had like a bad year.
Did you see his Momocon?
Oh, he like barely made top 8, right?
He lost to Smashbox SquarePants and Drupal.
Okay, can you All right, okay, slow down. What?
He lost to Smashbox SquarePants and Drupal.
Okay, those are not real players. Just don't. You can't troll me like this. Who are what?
You should just look up the video, man. He lost to Drupal, a Marth player, and Smashbox SquarePants, a Jigglypuff player.
This guy's tag is Smash Bob SquarePants.
Yeah.
The other guy's name is Drupal. Why do these players like they have tags like they're bad? Like,
Doublet. Sorry.
Their tags make them sound bad, right? Like that tag does not sound like a good player. One thing I'll tell you this about my tag is that even when I was horrifically bad, which I was way worse than I was at my peak, as everyone knows. There was a time where I was even worse, right? Way worse. People thought I was good simply because of my name. I'm not joking. When I first moved to SoCal, and I was very, very bad when I first moved to SoCal, people were like, oh my god, the Crimson Blur's coming? And they just saw me post a lot on Smashboards, and they knew I TO'd stuff, and like they heard of me, right? But because of the way my tag sounded, and the fact they knew I was like a player, I've been around, they already knew about me coming in.
I thought you were good. I drafted you on my first fantasy team, and I lost because of you.
They were talking about me coming in like I was going to get power rank. Like immediately, they're like, this guy's going to get power rank. This is going to change the game. It just sounds good. It sounds like such a good player. Meanwhile, Smash Bob SquarePants sounds like the worst player in the room. And the Moon lost him! You can't be losing to Smash Bob SquarePants! Come on!
And he lost to Doublet and Marth Dittos.
Who's Doublet? That sounds like a Pokemon.
I don't know, man. You can watch these sets. They've been recorded.
Some fan-made Pokemon. Like they're made on like websites that you really shouldn't go on without incognito mode. You know what I'm saying? Freaking Doublet.
And for whatever reason, the Moon can't beat Mafia.
Moon can't beat Mafia, man, and Crush is 22-0 against Mafia.
But to be fair, I'd probably still put the Moon higher. I mean, he has wins on SFAT, West Bowls, and Dewan, and he's up on S2J. But he has a lot of random losses. Lost to Colville. Lost to Hugs.
Get it together, Moon. You can't. That's bad. That's bad. That's a bad one. Now, to be fair to our boy Luna, the rest of his year isn't that bad. Oh no, he didn't he get body at Genesis?
Yeah, he lost to like Mafia and someone else.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Moon's had a horrible year.
The Moon has had some really good wins. Like, for whatever reason, he seems to do well against SFAT, but he has really strange losses too.
Wait a gosh damn second. The Moon was at Battle of BC.
No, he wasn't.
I think he was there.
I don't think he was. If he was probably fooling around.
No, I just looked it up.
Oh, he lost to Clawmaster.
I saw his Twitter. He was there. Moon was there, and we didn't even know it because he never got on stream, probably.
You're right.
Because there was like 3 tournaments going on that weekend.
Admittedly, yes.
Moon was doing so bad that we haven't even seen his sets because they're too low in the bracket. Come on, Luna. What is going on? We take it back. He's swapping plots with Shroom. Moon is now 21st.
He got blue shells.
And Smash Bob SquarePants is 20th. So, What is going on?
Okay, I totally forgot the moon was at the tournament.
What is the chat spamming right now? Laura says Hulk doesn't have crush level wins, but he has a positive X on Pew Pew, the Moon, Lucky, None, and Crush. Well, we just explained to you that wins over the Moon don't mean that much. Lucky has had like a broken foot. None loses to himself, so I'm not sure if those count. And Pew Pew, Mark Samus is broken, and Mark can't win. So I'm not sure I care about any of those.
Smash Bros. SquarePants. I heard Moon didn't have sleep though, so maybe we'll forgive that tournament.
No, is it sleep? Is sleep his fault?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So point is, Moon's losing. What do you think about Amsa? What Amsa, Battle of BC, is he a legend?
That crush set was amazing.
I crushed that. The fact that he killed him with down B, I'm going to tell you something. I could play this game for 3,000 years and play Yoshi that entire 3,000 years. I become like this temporal entity which just plays Melee and tries to master it. And I've never done that down B. That down B he did to Edgeguard, the moment he did it, I was like, oh, I guess you could do that. And it was such a comeback. He's so sick. What an amazing player. I'm so sad that he didn't go farther. But I'm so happy he was there in the first place.
Big Brain Hugo. Who knew that Gabe would come in handy at this very moment?
Oh my god. Hugo broke hearts. Hugo broke hearts by beating Amsa. So sad.
I tweeted out earlier, I thought Amsa could do really well. I thought maybe he had a chance to win it. I was really wrong on that. But I also said that Hugo versus Amsa was going to be really interesting if they played.
Yeah. The Gabe practice coming in handy. Amsa actually has a lot of Samus practice too, right? Because in Japan, there's some good Samuses. So, Samai, I don't know. So he, could have had that too. Could have gone a little bit farther. Am I wrong in saying it feels like there was a period early last year where we were doing more flights than we are now?
What do you mean flights?
It feels like we're doing less compendium flights and things like that than times past where we were flying out international players. Can we do that? Can we do that more again? Because I want to see more Amsa. Can you see more of these guys?
I mean, I think in general the Japanese players are hard to fly because of work. I know of a handful of TOs throughout the year that have asked Amsa if he could come, but he said no.
Yeah, I know. But in situations where it's available, I want to see some more Amsa, some more Rudolph, some more of these guys. So it'd be good, man.
I love. I wish Rudolph would do the trash talking thing in real life.
Oh, dude, he's so sick. I wanted to see it for commentary, but I learned something recently that I'm going to repeat on commentary. But none of the fans here can say it, so when I say it, say it again, it looks novel. I learned from a Japanese player why Rudolph sits the way he does. Do you know why he does that?
I'm going to feel really bad when I fear this answer.
He does it because the tournaments in his region, he's it's in a city close to Osaka. The tournaments in his region don't have tables and chairs. It's just not a thing they do. It's more culturally, they just play on the ground. And so his back hurts when he plays in a Indian style position. So he decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to learn how to play laying down because all of my tournaments have no tables and chairs. So he doesn't exactly like playing with chairs. He actually prefers playing with nothing. With no tables, no chairs, everything on the ground, because how he's used to playing is old school 12-year-old style when you're growing up. He likes to play like that on the ground. So he adapted to his local scene by playing on the ground like that, because obviously if you don't have a chair, your back's going to hurt for playing for after a long time. So that's a revelation. He's not like some illogical guy that just decides he needs 2 chairs every time he wants to play. He usually plays with no chairs. He isn't Mr. 2 chairs, he's Mr. 0 chairs.
I mean, not only is he adapting to his local area, he can choose to do whatever the hell he wants wherever he goes. I actually didn't know that story. That's actually really cool.
Exactly. So he's got the options to select, right? In his local area, he can play like that. In other places, he can just use 2 chairs and get the same experience. So, what a genius, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna share that story the next time we commentate, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. You can't steal it.
No, I'll set you up for it.
All
But
right,
it has
well,
to be like all the stars have to align. Like us two have to be commentating together, which rarely happens. And then not only that, but we have to have a reason to talk about Rudolph.
all right. Well, if you're not there, I'm still gonna say it.
Okay.
All right.
Fine.
Point is, it'll take like 6 years for it to come out.
Oh.
Webbs in chat says stealing it. Webbs, you're never getting a commentary gig again.
Until you sign the NDA.
Until you sign the NDA. Sorry, bro.
The Blur DA.
That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes.
All right, let's go back to the. We kind of tangented off. Smash and Splash. I mean, UBC was the smaller tournament. Anything else that you thought was pretty, interesting in that event?
There are other sets were cool, I guess. Main thing to take away from that tournament, of course, was the Chu Muta King finals. Kirby Kaza did it really well. I think we have to start evaluating him and Ryan Ford as players more honestly. Specifically with Ryan Ford, I looked to his doubles performance with Chu even more so. There was really cool. I highly recommend watching that grand finals of Ryan Ford and Chu versus Muta King and Abu, because there were the players were mic'd up, and you could hear what Chu was telling Ryan between the games, and you literally just watched it play out during the set, like their strategy, and it was so cool. It was so cool to watch. One of the coolest double sets at like a tournament of this scale that I've seen. And they beat him. Chu and Ryan Ford beat Muta King and Abu, which I think most would consider an upset. I mean, sure, Chu at this point has Muta King on lock in singles, but Muta King is people sometimes rank him as the best doubles player, period, right?
Yeah.
And so for him to lose to that team with and Muta King's teammate is a Jigglypuff who plays 4th, and Chu's teammate is a player who plays 9th, right? So there's an argument that Muta King had the better teammate, right? And yet Chu and Ryan Ford won. I think that was a big set in the tournament that I looked to.
I mean, I think we forget because I fondly remember unknown teaming with Ryan Ford teaming with Rain-X back in the day, and they were actually a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Back in the early Big House days.
Like I've said this so many times on the show, but the people need to know. People always ask, Blur, who's the next up-and-comer who's going to become top 10? Blur, who's going to be the guy who cracks into the top 20, the top 15, whatever? And I say, instead of looking for the new kids on the block, instead of looking strictly for oh yeah, Cyrox is going to be top 10 soon, right? Or something like that. Like a guy that is kind of fresh into the top, the sphere of top players, right? Or a new blood or something like that. Melee's been around so long that you always kind of got to look in the past. Because the truth is that if a lot of these guys picked up a controller, reinvigorated their career, really locked down and try to play the game again, they can do it because they got enough talent to do it. And a guy like Ryan Ford has been top 10 in the past. So much like Chudat, for example, right? Chudat, one of the greatest players of all time, he reinvigorated himself, he locked down, and all of a sudden we're talking about him being 6th, right? It's not as much of a surprise because he's been there before. And Ryan Ford has been there before. So don't be surprised if that dude becomes top 20, top 15. He's totally capable. And same with Kirby Kaze. Kirby Kaze is so capable of doing it, right? He could become that top level again. Because he's Kirby Kaze. He's Kirby Kaze.
I love Kirby Kaze. I love me some Kirby Kaze.
Yeah.
So, there were some... Go ahead.
People are posting in chat to talk about Zayn, and you're right. If we're talking about new bloods, we got to talk about Zayn. Tafa, what do you think about
Zayn? I've never seen Leffen play that scared in my life.
Dude, Barth beats Fox. I'm sorry.
You know what's crazy? It was on Dreamland.
Yeah. Zayn played pretty freaking well. Um, and dude, that guy's clean. I like it. I like everything I see. The new generations of Marth. I mean, Tactor was just in the office a second ago when he was saying Marth's having a really good year, and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, Moon's been losing, but I got more faith in my boy Zayn, Smash God, some of the new gen that I've ever had in the next generation. Nightmare, like there's these guys out there that are grinding, and I'm just like, you know what? They might just do it. Use a little sprinkle, a little PPMD return. You sprinkle a little bit of more of Mango Mart. You sprinkle a little bit of Shroom Mart coming, and all of a sudden we're looking at a shift in the guard. So, yeah, Zayn super good, man. And now with wins over Plup and Leffen, like those are some resume stackers, right? Like that, you got to take him seriously.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that Zayn, it didn't feel like he cheesed Leffen at all. It just felt like he just straight up beat him. Like usually when these upsets happen, it's like, oh, it's like an Ice Climbers or Puff that gets like 4 rests or like 4 wobbles, or they SD a lot. Like this was like one of those few cases where we look at the upset, we look at the match, and we're like, wow, damn, like this looks repeatable.
And matter of fact, it looked like it shouldn't have been as close as it was. Like it was 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Like really watch the gameplay. That man destroyed him neutral.
Yeah.
And he did really, really well. Leffen made up for it by doing an amazing losers run. So it's just kind of, it feels like we walked away from the tournament with like a higher opinion of Zayn and a higher opinion of Leffen. So everyone won, you know, in a weird way. But yeah, Zayn, that guy's legit. And I don't think he's a one-dimensional player. I think the way he plays the game really applies to a lot of different matchups. He just needs to get more sets under his belt, more tournaments under his belt. If one day he got sponsored, I'm sure that would help his growth a lot because he could go out to more events.
I think he's like sponsored by like a small team right now.
Is he? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you know, my boy Zayn, man, he's hella good, and you got to give props. You got to give props to that. Now, I will say I was a little disappointed that after the Leffen win, he didn't carry it a little bit more.
You got SU Jade.
But you got SU Jade, right? Like it's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, and then he got plucked, and it's just unfortunate. I mean, this is where the experience comes in. Like, I mean, MDVA has literally no Falcons, and that's always been a struggle matchup for that region.
And for the character, like, you know, I think Martha's fine against Falcon, but especially if you don't have experience, you just get hit so hard that, you know, you got to play the neutral so well in order to compete in that matchup. And if you don't have that much experience in it, you're gonna have a hard time, right?
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that this tournament, though it felt like there was a lot of upsets and stuff, the top 8 is like a very, like the people who made top 8 are almost exactly by the rankings, except for the Shroom SFAT swap, right? You'd probably put SFAT in there instead of Shroom, but the rest is like pretty uniform, right? Overall.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of thought it was going to go topsy-turvy with how Leffen lost, but he somehow made it back in to Westball's expense.
Yeah.
What else can we really say about this event? I'm just kind of scrolling around. I mean, we already talked about the Plup thing, Shroom playing the tournament of his life somehow. Wizzy always somehow making it in the top 8. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty hard tournament on the whole. You know, even though there was 2 events this weekend, I mean, this one was a really fun watch. Like, I'll be honest, I have to move this weekend. I'm not moving out of San Francisco. I'm just moving to a different apartment.
That's like $2,000 cheaper.
No, it's actually not cheaper at all. But I want to go to a new place. But the point is that I was supposed to work on that this last weekend, and instead I was an absolute degen and just watched Smash and Splash, Battle BC. I watched like there was Brood War on with the ASL. That I literally watched like 50 hours of esports or something over the course of the weekend, and I never felt better. Don't regret it. It was amazing. Because it was just super entertaining. I actually, like, in a way, like, I know it was unfortunate for there to be a conflict between the two events on that same weekend, but in the way I kind of liked it, like whenever Smash Splash went into break or was doing some, commentators talking or analysis, I just like switch on my other monitor and pay attention to the other set. It was kind of cool.
Ew.
Felt like it was like an NFL NBA situation where you can like kind of watch League Pass and like scroll through the game, see what's close, see what's good. It was kind of cool.
Ooh, Puff Ice Climbers. Oh, I can come back in 5 minutes. Let me go to this stream.
Hey, except I like Puff Ices. Screw you guys. I like all matches.
See, for me, I can focus on the other match and then come back to the Puff Ices when it's down to like 2 stocks apiece.
Yeah.
I'm getting past the filler.
Sure.
Or if it's Chudat versus Prince Abu, I'm gonna wait the first 6, fast forward the 6 minutes, and then go to the last 2 minutes, and then that's when it gets really cool for me.
Yeah.
No offense to Ice Climbers Puff, but there's a lot of filler in the middle.
Yeah. We should talk about doubles.
Before we go to that, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
If Leffen won this event, where does this go in terms of losers bracket runs?
Oh, it's up there. It would. Does it beat?
I mean, it's like 1 or 2 rounds. It's like 1 or 2 rounds longer than Mango's.
In terms of losers bracket runs, where would it rank? It's probably like a top 5 losers run, right? Like right now, it's already equal to Mewtwo at UGC, right, or close to it.
It's like roughly close. I mean, you can debate whether or not you value one more Godwin.
I think UGC is a little bit better, right? But it's close there. If he won the event, it's definitely better than UGC. I don't think it hits like as in at MLG or as this was through winners, right? It doesn't hit pound 3 levels. Dude, actually,
it's close.
It would have been like a top 3 losers run of all time. One of the best runs.
You have 2 H boxes, an Armada, and a Mango, and then like in the top 10-ish players, like you have Axe, Shroomed, Westballs, like
really hard ones too. So yeah, it would have definitely been up there. So yeah. Anyway, let's cover teams.
Sure.
At Smash and Splash, since we already talked about Battle VCs. Super interesting. If you guys didn't see the grand final was, of course, the one we all anticipated. Really well played, super entertaining, close sets. With between of course, Armada, Android Armada now taking a very strong lead in the Fuse circuit. They have by far the most points, and PewFat's now second in points. Really fun to watch, like these guys had 3 sets. Armada Android took 2 of them, and then SFAT, PewFat took 1 of them. Really, really close. And rounding out the top 4 were SJ Shroomed and Axe Plup, which are now starting to become more consistent teams. Like they're kind of like we're kind of expecting them to go far. And farther down, you see Law Smash God, the brothers, going far. Farther than even like teams I expected to do really well, like Disco Ball and MacD Chillin' Dude.
Dude, MacD was so mad.
Dude, I'm crazy because I was watching MacD Chillin' Dude and I was like, I thought this team's going to do amazing. Because I'm like, there's MacD in teams. Who's amazing.
I'm like 90% blaming Chillin' Dude, by the way.
No, I agree with you. And Chillin' is supposedly amazing in teams, right? Like
he is.
He is really good in teams. Like that team should have been like 5th place at the minimum, right? Am I crazy?
5th, maybe 7th if there's an awkward bracket. Because Professor Pro Hungrybox got 7th.
And then they finished the tournament with their best win being Rick and Lance the Pants. Like, come on, man, what?
Hey, Lance in the Pants is good.
MacD overall, like his last 6 months, singles, doubles, anything, just not on the map. Not really,
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
He's done well with Drug Fox. I mean, they've had some runs.
They've been okay, right? If you're gonna say Drug Fox is a top 10 player, like I expect a little bit more.
That's true.
I don't think it's fantastic or anything. Lots Smash God, I think that's gonna be a really good team going forward. Unfortunately, Law doesn't go to as many events as Smash God, so I don't know how consistent it could be as a consistent team. But like they're brothers, man, and that's beautiful. Um, and Hungrybox talking about how he doesn't know if he wants to enter teams anymore. He lost it with Professor Pro as his teammate. He's having a hard time finding teammates. Weird to say for like the second best player in the world in singles, but like he's not as good in teams. It's just how it is, man.
I think people play less 1v1, so you can kind of mitigate Hungrybox's strengths.
Yeah. Though he's a puff man, he should be better.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense that he gets these sort of team results. West Wizzy, fun little experiment. West lost the Plup lottery. You know, like it's often West Plup, and but Plup went with Axe. It looks like Plup tends to pick Axe when given the option between West Balls and Axe.
Yeah, I mean, I think Axe they both keep each other lighthearted, and I think that's what they need.
Yeah.
So I think like chemistry wise, they like each other enough, and that I don't see them getting angry at each other anytime soon. That I think it works out from a personality standpoint, and that's important actually in teams. I think for people that don't really get the insider knowledge of like the dynamics of top players, it actually does matter a lot because sometimes after events you'll see people yell at each other, like, and sometimes you see it a little bit on like the player cam, but some people really beef hard after a loss.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you saw the clip of West's communication with like they had the players mic'd up again. And again, I really do like that for doubles. It's so funny. They had him mic'd up, and Wes gave away his stages against the opponent. Like basically, they were like, "Hey, it was a best of 3," and he told them, I think like Battlefield or something, and then he immediately realized they hadn't banned their stage yet, and then they banned Battlefield, and he couldn't get it. It was the funniest thing. It was just listening to the communication of Wes Wizzy and how like terrible it was. Frankly,
it was like
just the funniest thing.
It was like, oh, yeah, it was really funny. Did you see? And then they showed Pew Pew and SFAT too. Did you hear about?
No, what happened?
Like Pew Pew and SFAT were getting really mad at Diskid and Koval. Like they didn't say it out loud because they couldn't communicate, but they were like, what's like taking these jabronis so long to pick a counter pick stage? Because I think Diskid and Koval were literally spending like 3 minutes a match to counter pick, so they were like really mad.
Disc Cobalt have the best synergy. Like the way they talk to each other, they're just like they're so cute and happy, you know? Like I think one of them did a 2v1 comeback, and the other one was like, "Oh, it's finally my turn," because the other guy did it in another set. You know, it's just funny to see them together. It's a cute little amount of synergy. Super like that production is now doing team mics for teams, because it's like giving us an eye into the team chemistry that we've never seen before. It's kind of like when NBA players get mic'd up during games. It's really cool.
It's adorable. I can't imagine Diskid Boogie or Koval getting mad at each other.
Yeah. Anywho, Team Storm was sick. I highly recommend everyone watch the winners grand and double grands of that tournament, and also a few of the other sets. They're really good too. As you know, the doubles was super cool. I really enjoyed watching it. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Even though Armada and Android won the overall, they tied in games 7-7.
Yeah, dude, that's one of those classic criticisms of double elimination formats, right?
Yeah.
Is that the game counts can swing in such a way where you go even in games and the other guy wins the tournament. They really are evenly matched teams. I know Armada and Android have a little bit of an edge, but you watch the game, like these guys are pretty evenly matched.
You know, be crazy. Like I would love. I don't know if it'd be exhausting for the players, but you know how Marvel does like the first to 10s.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to see them play a first to 10.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I remember the old MLG tournaments. There used to be this thing called continuation sets,
where they say, those.
Yeah,
but
I hated
anyway,
them too.
Anyway, explain it.
But old MLG events were actually like, if you watch like the classic PC versus Ken set, that was like a best of 11. and it had like a continuation clause, which is if they play earlier in the event, you continue with the set count. So let's say in winners, player A, let's just say like if PewFat beat UGS in winners 3-2, and then meet up in grands, then the set count continues as 3-2, and it's a best of 11. Something like that. So that's how MLG used to run it. I don't think it was very good, but it's another way of running tournaments. I definitely think that, like, in the world that there is like a multi-million-dollar championship for Melee, best of 5 is actually probably too short.
Yeah, I mean, E-League did a unique format for Street Fighter, right?
Yeah, like some of our best of 5s are like only like 10 minutes long. I think there's like been some that have been under 10 minutes. Now they're usually spacey those are 3-0, but you know it's a little anticlimactic sometimes. But yeah, there's unique ways of going about it.
I want to see actually how they did the finals.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember how they did it. Did they do a first to 7?
For E-League?
Yeah.
They did a really bad format. I don't remember the exact specifics, but I remember it being very, very unfair. I think it was like one game win for the person coming in. Like they had no resets for grand finals, and the other person came in with like a 1 game advantage if they're from winners or something.
Oh,
which is super unfair, but it's like very Dota-esque. Like Dota does stuff like that. So
okay, that's rough.
I mean, other esports literally don't have resets. Like if you look at like Dota and how they do double elim, is they don't do double elim. They do double elim up until grands, and then grands is just one set. You know, you could argue that's more fair, because the truth is in Smash, coming from losers is such a huge disadvantage. Not only do you have to play twice as many sets to get to grands, but then you have to beat the guy in grands twice, right? So maybe that's too big of a penalty for losing. I don't know. That's all theoretical stuff. I don't want to dwell on it too much because I mean we got a lot to cover.
Sorry, I am. Did you see Durant just hit a 3?
I don't have the game open, but apparently Durant hit a 3 and the Warriors are up.
The Warriors are up by 1 now.
That's crazy, bro.
Sorry, I'm like, is this justifiable?
This is justifiable, Tafo.
Okay.
I'm okay with this.
Okay, cool. They're shooting free throws, so it's filler. What else was interesting in Smash and Splash? I mean, we can move on. I mean, we have a long night. It's already 8:40, so we can probably move on to other topics. Good stuff to Hungry Box. Do you want to talk about his speech? Do you want to go on ledge grab limits? What do you want to talk about from that? We'll start happy. We'll do interesting before we get controversial. Speech.
Sure. Did you say you were going to start controversial? Do you think that was controversial?
No.
Yeah.
That's
it was like it was kind of it was kind of like a populist speech, right? Like drawing upon some of the anger that the community has and really hitting a chord. I'm not sure if the community outside of our bubble really has that sort of understands that sort of resentment and why we might have it. You know, we're always the kids who don't get the same privileges as other scenes, and it can be very frustrating to watch your favorite game not get the support that other scenes get. You know, like you might watch that same weekend, Rocket League hit 200K in viewership, right? And you know they're coming from a perspective where they had a lot of outside support. They're like a year 2 esport, and their developer and Twitch and many others have helped make that scene bigger, right? Whereas we're kind of doing it on our own, right? So I get the resentment there, and it's clearly, you know, it clearly hits the fan base that he's trying to reach. One comment I'm going to say is that was some of the best, I mean, some of the worst emceeing work you can do. And D-Disciple's my boy, but what the hell, dude?
This man has a family.
D-Disciple, what are you doing, dude? What's going on? Um, like he's going up there asking questions of the players that clearly they're not going to answer right before the sets. After the sets, he's like making commentary that clearly ends up triggering. Oh, dude, this Cleveland. I've got this a stream open up in a tab now. It looks like Golden State's winning. Damn, that's crazy. It is going to be a sweep. What'd I tell you?
I think they win Game 4. But anyway, keep going about D Disciple.
Sorry. If I was the TO, I'm just saying, where I care about my brand and I care about the image my brand gives outward, and trying to put forward a really professional production. Like I don't give the mic to a player to give a rant like that, right? Like, what are you doing? This is not a thing that's done, right? So it's really weird, right? It wasn't really like I get that HBox was super passionate and riled up about it, and he had he was kind of triggered by D Disciple's comment about not being able to say the F word, but like there's a part of me that was just like, yeah, HBox, I wish we had more support too. It's not that I disagree with you. Maybe it's important to speak your mind, but D Disciple, why are you giving him the mic? What's going on? Like, isn't this supposed to, why is this how what we meant to do? Like, is this the F Nintendo segment of Smash and Splash? Do you think the Smash Splash shows really want this right now? Like, I don't understand. So I'm not hating on HBox. Someone's saying I'm hating. I'm not hating on HBox. Nothing he said was really untrue. We did do this on our own. We haven't got any support. We could do whatever we want with our productions. He's right. I'm more thinking like as a stage manager and trying to move the production along.
I think
I guess that happened.
if I wasn't wearing a million hats, I would love to MC an event.
Sappho. I
think I could do a good job.
All right, man.
Dude, did you see my last Melee Science?
I love your confidence. Your confidence is through the roof.
My Melee Science last one, my Falco video was nuts.
You actually had really good delivery in the last one. I was gonna give you props.
But I mean, I've been doing camera hosting. Like, I'm specifically training. Like, MC was one of the things they were teaching us.
Hey, man.
I think I could do it. I did it for crew battles at Big House 6.
You know what? We were making fun of you during commentary, and then we listened a little bit, and we were like, oh, Taffer, you're doing a good job. So, sure, man. Why not?
But anyway, yeah, it definitely could have been done better. I'm not sure if it was a D Disciple, like, listening to a higher chain of commands of this is what you need to do. Because what I've learned, like, through, like, working behind the scenes with the camera host people, is, like, sometimes, like, it's not the person's fault, and sometimes it's the program's fault for ill prepping the host.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's you're at a bad spot and you kind of can't dig yourself out of it. Like, you're trying to make the best of it. Like, I know for sure if I had known what Big House's and Analyst Desk would have turned into, I don't think I would have accepted to do that. Though it ended up being pretty funny and some people liked it. I don't know. I got a lot of good responses about it, but looking back, I was like, what were we thinking? I don't know. It wasn't a good idea.
Hey, now you know.
So I always have sympathy. There. But at the same time, you got to call it out when it's bad so that we can improve it. And it wasn't very good.
Or we can get Wife.
Or we can get Wife. Dude, Wife, I think, is the top tier interviewer of the future. He's always done such a good job.
MLG 2014 was fire
fire. His opening speech. I want you guys to all one day after the show's done, look at Wife's opening speech at MLG Anaheim 2014. He did such a good job.
You know, those videos aren't up anymore.
Yeah, I guess they're private. I think they're up though. They're just private.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think MLG, they privated it, so nobody has it. So Oh, by the way, if you're watching this in the future somehow, the strange thing about those videos was that Jake had to ask a random person who illegally ripped the stream to get the stream so that they could upload it to YouTube because the MLG stream reruns broke.
That's how you know. That's how you know everything is backwards with how they handle the VODs. They lost the VODs, then they had to ask someone who ripped the VODs to upload on their official channel. They uploaded at a poor quality because they only had a poor quality rip, and then finally they took down the VODs just a few years later for no reason that I can really understand, right? So that's about the biggest mismanagement of VODs that you can ever get.
So it's unfortunate.
It's whatever. I'm sure someone's gonna upload it with, to another channel somewhere. I don't know.
So I'm just basically saying, please, if you're that person that gave the VOD to MLG, you have a copy somewhere.
Just do it, man. I'm not advocating stealing people's content, but like in this case, like what the hell, man? Like, just don't monetize it. Just upload to some other channel so we can save our history.
Yeah. I don't get to see the grand finals anymore. There were a lot of great matches there.
That was a good tournament. I liked the tournament.
I loved it. Despite the fact that the actual tournament ran poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Remember day one? Started 7 hours late?
Yeah, it was a really bad tournament. Yeah, very, very, very bad tournament. I had to make some very bold moves that tournament. I had to yell at some people.
Brandon started driving. I'm not sure if it was Brandon or Toph. I think one of them started driving from NorCal to SoCal when the tournament started, and they made it just in time to start losers or something weird like that. It was something really bizarre.
So basically, there was a point this was the first tournament that used the Smash Vault, actually, in full, and we brought all the TVs, we put all the discs in and everything. This is an afterthought, but after the tournament, I had a really hard time getting my discs back because they lost a bunch of them. But forget that. After all that, put the TVs down, we're happy, and then they didn't let anyone go into the area to play friendly. So I literally was like, I was like, I had my hands on my head. I was like, I personally drove a U-Haul of 40, personally loaded up a truck with a U-Haul of TVs with my other Oxy friends and drove it into a convention center, dropped it off for the first time, and then the day after setup day, I had to watch it not getting used. And I was like, we literally just broke our backs to make this fucking happen for you guys, and you're just not going to let anyone use them? It's not just that they said, hey, the tournament's delayed. They said, hey, guys, no one could go into the tournament area where the TVs are to play friendlies. So people were just sitting around, and I had to go up to, and I don't think people know this, they had to go up to their homies and be like, dude, unless you let people into the area, I'm going to pull my TVs right now. I'm like, you're literally doing something that's so illogical, I don't know what to tell you. I'm pulling my fucking TVs, let people play, and they listen to me, turned out.
Let my people play.
Let my people go, dude. And did that, and then similarly, they were trying to DQ half of the good players of the tournament because of their F-up. They were trying to DQ Pew Pew, Shroomed, myself, and a lot of other good players, and we had to make a stand again because their scheduling mix-up just made the players who were there the whole time, none of their matches got announced. They didn't know what was going on. It was just such a colossal train wreck of a tournament.
Oh yeah.
We can say all this stuff now because MLG doesn't really exist anymore. They were they're part of Activision, and this whole thing is just a part of history.
Well, we're gonna create a book called "Can't Speak Too Soon: A Melee Story," and we're gonna unveil all the back yearnings of Melee history.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's dude, 5 years after I retire from the scene, I'm gonna make a tell-all book, and you guys will learn so much. It will be so crazy. The stuff that goes on, it's just nuts.
So I mean, I was gonna give you a majority share on the book because we're gonna use your charisma. I want to have it perfectly outlined for you, so that right when we can do it, or we feel like it's not too soon, bada bing, bada boom.
Exactly, man. We're gonna make the best tell-all of all time, and we're gonna make so much money, the most money,
The most money, real money, the best money,
the best money. Speaking of which, I want to talk about a topic.
Which one?
That I want to talk about fake news.
Okay, let's talk about fake news.
So people were wondering why that was in our outline of all our topics, and the reason I want to talk about it is because it's not a new development, but it feels maybe all the hubbub in the political sphere has got to my head. But the more I'm on social media, the more I'm like actively trying to keep up and read with what public opinion is, the more I realize how much of common discourse is about fake news. And what I mean by that is
before I continue, I'm perfectly fine either way on how you answer this. Does this relate to Melee in any capacity?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
I'm literally talking about Smash News. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because I'm in a position where I have basically perfect knowledge, right? I know whenever I see a news article, I probably knew about it like 3 months ago, right? And whenever I look at something that like I knew about, like, for example, this Red Bull event I knew about probably like 8 months ago, right? Like
me too.
Right, exactly, right? So we know a lot because of our positions. And so when you have perfect knowledge, reading people's speculation can be really, really interesting because you see public opinion, but at the same time, you understand because of your position how wrong they are, like on the facts, not on their speculation, but on their facts, right? And you know what's actually kind of fake news, and the people are, you know when people are speculating about something that doesn't exist, right? So let me give an example, right? And Curly W says, all right, you're both Illuminati, we get it. Curly W, I'm trying to make a fucking point. Listen up, dude.
Oh, by the way, Curly W does our seating, so if you make fun of him, expect to get the worst seating at an event. You'll probably be paired with Armada round 1. Anyway, keep going.
Absolutely. That's not what I'm trying to say. Guys. What I'm trying to say is, let me give one example, right? There was an article. There's been multiple articles out about player unions, right? And let me tell you exactly how this happened. How this story happened, and this was a news cycle in our community. Zero made a tweet that said, tournaments are too saturated. There's too many tournaments, right? Tantalus, a TO in Maryland, replied to him in that tweet and said, this is never going to change. You're never going to be able to get like an off season unless you make a player union, right? Tantalus makes this response to Zero. That turns into an article about how Smash players are considering unionizing, right? That article then gets turned into more articles about how Smash player unions are happening. Those articles then come to me. I get like 15 emails about player unions and my comment on it and all this stuff, which I say, of course, I'm not going to comment on it. This thing is not even happening. This is based on a Tantalus tweet who's not even a player. He's a TO. He's not a player. He's a TO. And he's just saying a comment. That's all that happened. And all the people who are writing these articles are not part of the scene, don't know any of the players, are just reading Twitter, and those are their sources. So they're reporting this thing, and I'm constantly getting asked from so many people about these freaking player unions, and I'm sitting here like, this is not a thing that's happening. This is not a real thing. No one is unionizing in Smash Brothers. It's not a real piece of news. And here, everyone's talking about it. I have to read Twitter every single day about things that aren't happening. It's like the Zorro world.
You know.
Gets reported, and then that report becomes reality,
And then everyone talks about it like that fake reality is what's happening. I can't wrap my head around it, and I don't want to talk to people about something that's literally not happening. And you guys might think, Blur, this is an isolated instance. No, this happens all the time. Literally all the time. You guys spend your time on the internet talking about things that are not happening all the time. You guys are reading Twitter about things that aren't happening all the time. And it's infuriating because then I look at an introspective moment. I have like a moment to myself, and I think to myself, how is this happening to every other sphere of life where I don't have the knowledge that I do about Smash? When I look at politics, is this happening? When I look at, I don't know, news about anything. When I look at the general world sphere, does this happen everywhere? And I resigned myself to thinking, like Existential Wizrobe would think, that it's all meaningless. We all just talk in circles about nothing 90% of the time.
Well, you can trust Yahoo Esports Smash coverage to be accurate.
Honestly, I'm going to tell this to you guys straight up. I'm going to tell you guys this straight up. Unless Tafo's reporting it, it's probably not true. I'm just going to say it. And this is not out of bias, but Tafo actually knows what he's talking about. And please, please scroll down to the bottom of these articles and read who wrote it and tell me if you've ever heard of them. Tell me if they would have any knowledge about this thing, or they would have any conception about this thing happening, or if their article is literally sourced from a tweet. You know, here, let me tell you how to report nowadays, right? Let me tell you how to be an esports reporter. Let me just give you a little rundown, right? First, think of the article you're going to write. No, don't find the truth first. Think of the article first. Think about the article you want to write. In your head, you're like, you know what? I want to make an article about player unions. I really want to make an article about player unions. So what should I do next? I should find a tweet or a Reddit comment or something somewhere in the universe that someone in the Smash community at some point at any time said about player unions, and then write an article about how player unions are happening. That is the process to being a reporter. That's how you do it. You first start with the story, and then you make your truth.
By the way, guys, people at home, if you want to create an article, you just take mini soundbite clips of Blur talking, and you can find an article. You can find 20 articles by juxtaposing and cutting and pasting. There are player unions.
I could literally give you guys 100 more examples. I give you 100 more examples. Matter of fact, we might as well talk about commentary unions next as another piece of fake news. You want to know how that happened? You guys want to have a little bit of a breakdown of how that happened? Or
okay, let's go. Let's go.
Let's quick, okay? Guy named Pierce. He's the guy with the pop collar you see in Smash 4 all the time. He just walks around with a pop collar and sunglasses indoors. This guy is like Mr. Double Pop Collar. He's in Discord. He talks to someone in Discord. He makes a side comment in Discord. Someone screen caps that thing in Discord. And then he sends that to Jabali like, hey man, look what this guy said. Then Jabali makes a tweet like it's happening. Commentators unions are happening, right? Right? Who's unionizing? Is Scar unionizing? Is Toph unionizing? Am I unionizing? Is E unionizing? Who's unionizing? Is T1 unionizing? No one's unionizing! No one's doing it! You guys are speculating about nothing! You're making memes about nothing! You're making fun of commentators for nothing! You're getting mad about nothing!
I guess what I'm wondering, so I see that you're angry. My question to you is, what goes on in the Twitch esports department that leads you to hear these things and the type of conversations that Nick Allen and other esports reps tell you when they hear this news and pass it along to you?
the show. Okay, sorry, someone at Twitch just asked me if I'm fine. Someone just walked in and was like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, yes, we're fine. We're good. Sorry, your question?
So obviously you hear people go, "Oh, Smash is doing this," right? Like, so how does this come back and make the full circle to Blur at Twitch with non-insular Smash people?
Every day, Tafo. Every single day, I have someone go by my desk and be like, "Oh wow, players are unionizing. That's cool. Can you tell me more about that?" And I tell them it's not happening. You're literally a part of the cycle. And they go, "Oh, what? Really? I see. No, it's not happening." I get emails about this. I get partners in Smash that ask about this. I am the person they email about this, and I have to filter it every day, tell them, guys, don't worry, it's not a big deal. Mr. Sponsor, oh, you're a team owner, don't worry about it. This isn't happening. This is literally fake. And they're like, dude, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. I'm the Crimson motherfucking Blur. Jesus Christ. Of course I'm sure. What do you think? God. Like, what? Yes, I'm sure. Like, I can't put up with it anymore, man. I can't put up with reading tweets and Reddit threads about stuff that we like. It's so obvious it's not happening. No one, all this speculation. You have comments and comments, people speculating. Oh, so intelligent, really just breaking down what's not happening. Just telling us exactly what's not happening in this hypothetical. And just breaking it down, and yet none of those people, with all their speculative wisdom, looks at the sources, thinks about it critically for 1 second, and thinks, you know what? I don't think this dude from Kotaku knows what he's talking about. And his source, I can't find the source. I can't seem to make a connection here. Maybe this is not a thing.
Yeah, to be fair, there are a bunch of Kotaku writers that are not associated with each other. I have to give a personal shout out to Cecilia, because she always contacts me or Sheridan when she needs to verify sources. So if you see Cecilia on Kotaku, she's legit. Not sure, I can't vouch for anyone else. I haven't read their articles, but Cecilia always contacts me.
I'm not vouching for anyone but Tafo. If it's not Tafo writing it, 9 times out of 10, I don't believe it. It might be true too. The funny thing is, sometimes there's good reporting. Sometimes there's decent reporting. But I'm just going to be real with y'all. If it's not Tafo writing it, there's a high chance it's not true. It's just the way the world in Smash World works. It's just there's a high chance, man. Don't upload it on Reddit. Like, just don't. Just don't do it, man. Just don't do it.
Do we give Edwin Budding the Blur seal of approval?
Edwin Budding, sure, but he doesn't really report. He does historical articles. But sure, man, Edwin Budding, I'm sure if he ever really he's going to do a good job. But man,
yeah, he's not going to controversial gray area territory. All his articles are, admittedly, they're good, but they're safe.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you give us one more example? I'm dying here.
Dude, I got so many. We got a lot of topics to go on, but
dude, you just hit.
You
hit three topics in one. You went over commentators, player unions, and fake news all in one fell swoop. I think the people deserve one more.
Okay. Let's say. Well, some speculation I'm okay with. Like, there was a fake leak about Wii U coming to Switch, and then people, speculated about it and whatever. At least that was like, okay, there was a guy who like misled people and were reporting on something with the knowledge that it might not be true. That's, I think, honest. That's fine, right? But so much of the other stuff, it's not, man. It's so bad. It's so bad. Man, I don't know. Dude, Tafo.
You know what's actually going to be really interesting? For whatever reason, between player unions and commentary unions, I just remembered something.
What?
We're in June going to July, which is before EVO, which means one thing. re-signing of players.
Yeah, that's true. That's
A
true.
lot of contracts are up.
A lot of contracts are up. Usually, people get signed before Evo because they want their brand next to people at Evo. We haven't had that many new signings recently. We had Phoenix 1 in that in Smash 4, but that happened recently. But overall, it's been kind of slow. So it remains to be seen. There's a few good players out there that we're gonna try to get teams. There's definitely Wizrow still doesn't have a team. It's kind of crazy. My man goes to tournaments wearing logoed apparel. He's still wearing Cognitive gear half the time. If he's not, he went to the last tournament wearing an ESO logo. So I'm sure a team is probably watching, doesn't even know he's not on the team. It doesn't even know he's not sponsored. So maybe that's the thing.
I don't even think Wizzy's aware that he's not sponsored.
He streams with the Cognitive logo on his overlay still. He's like, and I ask him, Wizzy, ask someone to make you a new overlay or make a new overlay yourself. He's like, dude, it's the only one I got. I'm like, Wizzy, what do you want from me? what do you want from me?
To be fair, David Fry's the homie, and he's actually David Fry, the owner of Cognitive, actually does provide travel and flights for him still.
Still?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
From what I've talked to Rizzy, so Cognitive, David Fry is still being a good man.
I mean, yeah, Cognitive just was was the Fry's pet project, so good for them.
Yeah.
Anywho, maybe Wizard gets sponsored. Drug Fox still unsponsored. Who else is left? What's our free agent list?
Mike Hayes is now on the list.
Mike Hayes is on the list. So
I mean, I'm just scrolling down the list. So yeah, we have. What do we? What are our views? I don't want to throw slander at groups, but the Insular Smash teams. No, we won't go there.
Don't go there, Tefo. Just let it be.
All right, fair. So yeah, Wizrobe, Drug Fox, Mike Hayes immediately come to mind.
Yeah. So there you have it. Man.
Okay. So roulette wheel. What use the Crimson Blur spin next? What are you talking?
We could talk about. So we just talking about Zero's tweet about saturation, right? Want to talk about that real quick?
Sure.
So here's the Crimson Blur official view on saturation. We don't actually have saturation. In fact, I think we have content we're undersaturated for the most part. You just let me pull up the handy dandy Smash calendar to remember. But if you really look at can't miss tournaments of the year so far, we had Genesis in January. February, arguably we had nothing. You could put Beast in there. March we had Summit. And I mean you could put Frame Perfect in there. I don't know if I would. April we had Yahoo, and we had DreamHack, and we had CEO. That was a pretty stacked month. May we only had Royal Flush, and then in June we have arguably nothing that's big enough to really hit that mark until we had July with Evo Gamo and DreamHack Atlanta. So that's not that bad. And matter of fact, that seems pretty undersaturated. We could have more big events. Now here's the thing. Okay, Full Bloom, guys. I forgot about Full Bloom. Sorry. Full Bloom's good. So the point is that I'm trying to make is the thing that people talk about saturation all the time is, oh, look at all these. I'm just going to make a long list of tournaments and say, oh, there's so many tournaments, right? I think there was one Reddit post about, oh, there's a tournament every weekend until the end of the year. I'm like, of course there is. There's a local everywhere. There's a regional everywhere. It's not really that surprising. And so to equate a regional event to a major event or a premier event like Genesis or Big House is really dishonest. And I think as a community we should make it a goal of ours to have content every weekend. As a matter of fact, content every weekday, because we want people to have something to watch.
But that doesn't necessarily mean we need to have a Genesis every weekend. We're not going to have a Genesis every weekend, and we don't right now, right? We have like one big tournament a month about. Like that's like our rate. In the summer, it's usually a little bit more packed, but really only in July and August. Like August is going to be super packed. I'll admit it. But we have like one big tournament a month, and then there's other stuff that like keeps the wheels churning. For the rest, we use a little bit more saturated because of 2GG. 2GG added a ton of events into their calendar, so it's saturated a little bit. But I don't think, like, if anything, they shouldn't be refusing events, that community right now. So I don't think it's honestly that bad. And the Melee community, to be fair, isn't really the ones that are really talking about this right now. But when I hear someone like Zero say, hey, we need like a 3-month off season. He's doing it from the perspective of a player, but I think what he doesn't understand is that if we actually, let's just say, no locals, no majors, no anything, or even if we just say just no majors and premier events for 3 straight months, we would come back after that 3 months probably like 30% smaller as a scene. And I'm not just saying that speculatively. I really know that because there's a lot of good examples in esports history and in our own history for that happening. When we have a whole month that's bad, like, for example, there was, I think, December 2015 was really bad. Our February this year was really bad. We had, we always have like 1 or 2 months a year that are really bad. I think September of last year, I want to say, was really bad. I'm trying to remember. There's always like 1 month that's like sticks out, right? We come back smaller than we were. We don't come back the same size. And the reason we don't is because the fans haven't had anything to watch. Right? And not only watch, but they don't have any place to compete, maybe, if you're talking about local scene, etc. So you have to view saturation in that lens, is that we're not like stable enough as a scene to be like the NBA, where they take long off seasons and then come back and retain their fandom. That's not what happens right now. What happens with us is that we go on a 3-month break, we lose people. We don't get people back. That's not how it works. We lose people and we have to build it back up. You lose something in the process. So I think what we have now is we actually kind of already have an off season. Like, no one really hosts in December, and then up until Genesis, there's generally nothing going on. So there's like a solid month to 6 weeks where we have a break, and to me, that's the most we can afford. So I'm not really sure what more we want, and if someone wants more, then skip like the last November tourney and get 2 months off. I don't know, bro. But realistically, like, I think we have like a really good cycle at the moment. And especially the fact that our off season, our informal off season, happens near holiday time. I think that's good because you get a chance to hang out with your family. You pretty much have from Thanksgiving until Genesis off for most people. Now, that's not entirely true for Wii U because they have the 2G championships in the beginning of December, but like the rest of the community has that for the most part. And from my perspective, that's a lot of break, and that's actually maybe too much. So yeah, saturation is kind of not a thing. In fact, I mostly try to look for more tier 1 events that we can push in there, because I'm not sure if we have enough, right? How dope would it have been if February had like a 50K viewer event? I think most of us would have been happy for that, right? Yeah. How dope would it have been if this month, freaking June in the summer, we had something that had more gods in it, right? Like, what's our biggest event this month? That we're so saturated, and we're like, what's our biggest event this month? I guess it's CEO, but that event's actually not that big this year. Right?
I mean, it's probably Smash and Splash, to be honest, for Melee. And
I'm sorry. After this, now, like from now until.
I mean, for Smash 4, it's 2GG Nairo, right?
Right, sure. For Smash 4, for Melee, for Melee's calendar.
Melee, Mango and I just like sat down together. We don't have an event until Evo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a sizable one.
So realistically, like, from Mango's a professional player, and there's like a 5-week span in the middle of the summer where he doesn't really have anything that he's thinking about going to, right? And so from my perspective, I actually think we're pretty undersaturated, and we could use more really good events and stuff to go to. So no, we use a little bit different because it's more saturated because of 2GG. But on the whole, I don't think it's true to say we're too saturated. I think we're the opposite. In fact, I think a lot of the worst events of that tier 2, tier 1 would probably lose people if they had better competition.
Yeah.
So, no.
I mean,
that's just a note on saturation because people are talking about so much.
I mean, I think Panda, like the PGR, even said like they're working with Practical TAS to work on a system where like it's not encouraging you to enter every event. They're like taking top like X amount of events. So like even if you're worried about your rankings, like you don't like if you went to like 10 like 12 majors in like the first 5 months of a season, like you're not obligated to go to the next 4 if you don't want to.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and I think to add to this real quick, like I think it's up to this scene, the community, the commentators, and the storytellers of the scene to be able to create a strong enough narrative that even if you don't have like 3 of the top 10, like that you still have a good event and a good story. That's on the community to make and find those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about commentary recently, as a wake of the fake news about commentary unions. But like some of it has been super disturbing for me to read personally. And you know, this is I'm gonna reference someone in particular, though they're my boy. But I didn't like the comments that I read. And
before you read it, can I boost your ego a little bit?
Go ahead.
Existential Wizard wrote, "There are 2 ways to be fooled: to believe what isn't true, and to refuse to believe what is true. Prime Crimson Blur is not easily fooled."
It's true, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
I'm sick of this freaking. I'm trying to find the exact comment.
I was stalling for time for you.
Yeah. Do. God, this is so many tweets. Okay, so I'm gonna try to find it. Oh, by the way, speaking of fake news, everyone talk about if you want a third example, everyone talk about $5 an hour from DM Brandon. How's that? That's another example. In the if you remember that little news cycle, that was completely nonsense. Okay, so I'm trying to fucking find it. Okay, cool. So, I think So I can't find it exactly, but the point is that there is a sentiment out there that commentary, like, so many TOs out there, like, if they're trying to cut costs in one area, they'll cut costs by cutting commentators, and that's just true. I think people are seeing more casters nowadays just say no and say no whatever. And people have asked me like, "Hey Blur, why aren't you doing more events this year like you usually do?" I'm like, dude, like I'm saying no more, right? And Toph's saying no more, and Homie Waffles and Phil are saying no more. A lot more people are saying no, right? Because a lot of this stuff was basically unpaid in the past, and it's more excusable because there's so many events that go red, but there's definitely some events that go green, and when you know that, and you have, like, in my case, I have their budgets in front of me, so I kind of have, I kind of have a little bit of a leg up in that sense. But it gets really disappointing because the TOs are genuinely not investing into their broadcast very much, and I think that to really understand it on a fundamental level, you have to say this. Okay, so TOs are often going in the red. That's just a fact. But the truth is that if they had more money, they often wouldn't spend it on the broadcast. So people have to understand both ways. And I think that's mostly, and I take some blame for it. As a Twitch employee, I think it's mostly because they get so little revenue and feedback from a good broadcast on a per event basis that they don't understand the point of investing into that necessarily. So like, let's say you're a TO and you're just being an economist, right? And you always want to like map out incentive pattern, right? If you're a TO and you're saying, what should I do? Should I spend, if I have $1 to spend, should I spend that dollar in ensuring I get one more attendant? Or should I spend that dollar to make sure I get X number of viewers, right? And the answer is always going to be that one more attendant, because that dude's like $60 to your bottom line, right? And meanwhile, because no one subs during a stream, and because no one paywalls streams, for example, like I remember when Canada Cup did $8.95 and everyone was raging about it, and because ad revenue on streams, people don't even play that many ads, but even when they do, it's really not that much money. It's like actually very, very, very little money. And the fact of the matter is that TOs hire out other channels to stream their events, so they don't even get that money most of the time. And even if they did, it'd be so little it wouldn't really make a difference. So between that, like, the TO doesn't directly get any money back from the broadcast, right? Where does the TO make money? The TO makes money off their in-person attendance, and if they have like a shop or something, they make some merch money. Maybe they make some catering money. Maybe they have a sponsor. Not really. Let's be real. They don't have a sponsor.
Yeah.
But the point is, they pretty much make it off ticket sales, right? And they don't really make it off of their broadcast. So their stream doesn't do that much for them, right? So when they think about, like, should I pay a caster to have a better stream? They don't really care about making it that much better. It's just the genuine truth. Now, we are lucky and fortunate that we have so many people who genuinely care about the scene's growth, and so they want to do a good job. They have pride in their work, and they think it's important for their brand and the future growth of their brand in order to put on a good stream. But I personally, knowing how some of the dynamics of the economy go into it, if TOs were in the green, they wouldn't really be investing that money back into their broadcast very much. And there's some of the examples where they have gone the green, they just kind of take that money and take it as profit, which they should. That's fine, but they don't go and put it back into the broadcast, right? So I think that's one big point that has to be made, is that yes, TOs are losing money, so commentators shouldn't expect much. Agreed. But at the same time, the TOs that are in the green aren't paying commentators, because then they say, well, you did this event for free, so why aren't you doing my event for free, right? And it's like, dude, then we're never going to get paid, right? And even if they went out and did it, the commentators, like, even if, like, they had money, I don't think it's evident that they would pay him out necessarily. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how commentator pay goes down. It's gotten a little bit better. I think that for this year, commentators are getting paid a little bit better. But the truth is, guys, like, you're probably going to see less and less of your favorite casters going forward. It's just the truth, because they're going to be more picky. It's just how it's gone. Commentators are just saying no more, and it's not because they're freaking unionizing. It's because they're just saying no more, and they're being more selective because these guys already kind of have their following, and they don't really care about the exposure. So get used to it.
No.
Unless the TO, the smart TOs are going to go out and pay commentators if they have the money for it. But otherwise, they did it.
No.
There is, like, having said that, there's like kind of a hidden union in Smash already for casters, where like often TOs would come to me and I negotiate on behalf of everybody. So I just say, cool, I'll tell you what Scar's rate is, Toph's rate, my rate is, D1's rate, blah blah, EE's rate, TK's rate, and I'll just do it all in bulk and I'll just do it myself. But it's not like a super serious thing. It's kind of there, but it's not really. So yeah, being a caster in Smash is pretty rough.
But yeah.
It's one of those things that don't scale because, like, let's say you like are a local commentator and you turn out to be pretty good, right? So you go to like 2 majors a year, and all of a sudden people are like, Marth Master 60, like, we want to love you to be at our event. All of a sudden it takes like every other weekend of your life, and then all of a sudden like not getting paid kind of sucks, and taking vacation days to go to an event that you initially weren't planning on but we're going to is like where the line kind of draws for most commentators. Unless I'm
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, no, you're right. People are saying, "Oh, Blur said unions were fake," but there's a union this whole time. It's not a union. It's just me acting as an agent for a bunch of casters. I've only done it a few times. Is the truth. It's not really consistent. I don't do it for every event. It just takes a lot of time to do that. I probably should do it more often. It would probably help people out. But it's been part of the reason why the pay is getting a little bit better. It is getting a little bit better. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I haven't taken an unpaid event in the last like year plus, and I ask for the same rate every time, and I've gotten a good amount of events. It's not as much as I used to do, but it's fine, and that's true for most of the tier 1 guys nowadays. It means they do less events, but they at least get paid for the ones they do, which is a little bit better. It's not a freaking union, guys. It's me. In a few cases, I negotiated on behalf of the whole. So
Let's go, Papa Blur.
probably should do it more often, but it's a thing.
Let's go, Papa Blur.
Yeah. So
But yeah, I wish. I guess you. I wish. I miss you guys. I miss Scar. I miss people.
dude, I miss Scar commentary so much, and having this, by the way, like the thing that I guess about the whole discussion that was like, I don't want to say triggering to me, but it was really annoying to read, is you similarly hear people say Smash commentary is so bad, they don't like, no one's good enough to deserve to get paid, this, that, or the other, and then those same people, and by the way, others say that no one deserves, as a caster, deserves to get paid. And then those same people, whenever a local commentator comes on, they destroy them so hard, and they criticize and nitpick every single thing that guy does, and yet Smash, like the premier casters have no value, right? The premier casters have no value, and yet clearly there is a significant difference between the lower levels of casters and the higher levels of casters. So either it has value or it doesn't. I don't really understand, right? Like for me, it's like clearly the top level casters have value. I actually think we could all get a lot better. But I also know that I think we're still a lot better than most esports. And I don't care what anyone says, and I'm just saying this from experience. A lot of other esports aren't good. We don't have anyone that's like as good as like Artosis and Tasteless. I don't think anyone's that good, but there's some games where the casters are terrible. The NBA's casters are freaking terrible. Are you listening to this finals commentary? It's so bad. It's so bad. But doesn't mean they're not worth anything. Doesn't mean their time isn't worth anything. Doesn't mean they're not better than other people. So it doesn't mean someone's time should be given zero compensation. Like, that's not the same thing.
You tell him, Blur.
So whatever, man. Whatever, man. And this is coming from a person that I think that this 6 months of Smash commentary has been a decline for almost everybody, with few exceptions. I don't know if anyone's had a good commentary block this entire 6 months, except for a few isolated examples that all include me.
Hey, what about the Tafo D1?
Actually, I take it back. Tafo D1 was a huge improvement for you. D1 did pretty good too in that too. I think it was a huge improvement for you. I think me and Reno at Genesis was good. Who else has done well in the last bit? I don't know.
Cheat and Ludwig.
Cheat and Ludwig was hot, I guess.
I love Ludwig. Homemade Wobbles is always good.
Yeah. All right. So we can put that in there maybe. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There's been points where I've been super disappointed
and the level of commentary we've had, and I'm just like I'm right there with you guys. Now at the same time, having said that, I'm disappointed because I expect better from these guys, but I know it's way better than if we didn't have them on the doing commentary. Like I'm disappointed, but I'm not to the level of where I'm like, oh, these guys just aren't worth anything. So it's a level. So where I'm disappointed is when, I see heavy doses of bias, which I think has pervaded. When I see, like Summer Grand Finals with music and eating a pizza into the mic, or Alex 19 yelling as Chu gets a wobble in Summit, or
Alex
or
19
honestly,
just came into the chat.
I said it because he's in the chat because I think it's funny to make fun of someone that's in the chat, or honestly some people are just commentating in something that doesn't look explicitly bad, but as a caster I think they could use a lot of improvement. So for example, how doubles was cast just this last week in a Smash Splash, I think that was really bad, and they probably walked away thinking they did a good job, but overall I think they did a pretty freaking bad job. And the reason why I think they did a bad job is they spent 90% of the time talking about character matchups and stage matchups and what they think the team should do, and no time on play-by-play and directing the player's eyes. So if you just tuned out, you're probably like, oh, these guys, it's not annoying in my ear, so it's not bad, but it's not good either. So there's a lot of holes, right? And so I have a lot of criticism, and I naturally do, but I don't think that means that all those guys aren't worth nothing. So, a little commentary tangent. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about commentators?
I don't know, man. We're never gonna have a consistent tournament with all the good casters in it, which really it's kind of sad when you think about it, right? In terms of our broadcast.
Armada commentary is fire.
Dude, people are gonna think Armada commentary was fire even if he bombed. So it's one of those things. It was okay, I guess. It makes a lot. They did their thing.
I like Armada.
Yeah.
I like you, Blur. You're a good man.
Thank you, man. I think I'm amazing.
I think you are.
All right, what's our next topic? Let's just talk about it.
We talked about saturation, ledge grab limits.
Oh yeah. What are your thoughts? What do you Tafo, I know you're gonna give me the middle of the road answer. We don't tell me yes or no, should we have it or not. But I'm gonna force you to it. I'm gonna force you to tell me yes or no to a ledge grab limit. I want an actual opinion here.
I've never if I'm a NBA ref, I always say let them play. I've always been a person that says let's play it out. I'm always conservative on changes. So I actually gave my opinion on Yahoo Esports when I made the video. I think that we're fine as we are. I don't know of a reason why we would need one. If I were to be perfectly honest with you.
So,
if you can, this is where you can play the other side, right?
Yeah. So you're saying no, right?
Yeah, I think it's way too premature.
Here's what I'll say: is I think for most relevant matchups, it's definitely not broken. Even against ICs, Chu didn't do desynced ice blocks against the regrab, which is IC's best option against it. So it's really confusing in that sense. Having said that, in most relevant matchups, it's not bad. In some really bad, some bad characters actually have very little options against it. And I'm not really sure what DK is supposed to do against it. I don't know. He's probably just gets screwed. But if you're doing that against DK, you're actually just a bad person. Having said that, I don't think it's broken, and but my view of rule sets is kind of, I don't know if something necessarily has to be broken to make a rules adjustment around it. I kind of look at it in a traditional sports perspective, where you know, you're kind of building a rule set for making the best meta possible, right? Like we didn't. I think I used this example on Twitter. We didn't ban Hyrule because there's anything random about that stage. Um, we banned Hyrule because the counter metagame for the playing on Hyrule was so degenerate that we just didn't want to do that, you know? And similarly with a lot of stages, right? Like there was nothing really broken about Rainbow Cruise in terms of randomness, right? We just didn't think that the gameplay of one dude running away while the stage moves and the other guy trying to catch up is something we really want, right? There wasn't anything super broken about it. And similarly, like even if it's not broken in terms of, I think there's characters to do some counters and stuff. The counter play against it is so boring and degenerate that I'm not really sure that's where we would want to take the game regardless, right? Like we could see the metagame play out for people learning how to beat ledge camping, but we can play that mind puzzle and maybe at the end of it, people figure it out and overall that ledge planking loses, and then by the end of it, we spent a year figuring it out and our scene is smaller for it. Right? Like, do we actually like win there? Like, who cares if there is counterplay to it that eventually prevails or whatever if the scene dies in the process of developing that counterplay? Like, does that matter? Like, and I really do think it is that boring for it to be considered that way. Like, it's just. If beating Puff at the ledge is shoot one laser, get her percentage up, and occasionally down tilt, like they're doing, and I think there's probably better things you could do. Is that a world worth exploring? I don't know, man. Like, why do we have to explore this? Like, why do we have to see this counterplay develop when the counterplay is clearly just freaking DGen 2.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, I don't. I just feel like. I mean, I agree. Like, I talked to who did I talk to? There's a name that who did I talk to? I talked to actually your coworker, Ben. Did I talk to your coworker about it? No, I didn't. I mean, like in other metas, like if you have like an easy character, right, and they become meta, like in League, like let's say you have a very basic hero for noobs, and that becomes a meta hero, then that turns into a fundamentally bad game. Like if you're not gonna know this, but it's like Garen. If Garen was meta in League, it would be an awful game. In fact, it was. So, but like, why are we so? It seems like we're heavily targeted towards Fox. Or characters that are slower paced, right?
No, I mean honestly, if a Fox did a fire stall perfectly, or really like abuse, or a Falco did, or there's like a Shino, like what can DK or Roy do about Shino stalling? I guess Roy has a big wave dash, but Zelda, what can she do about Shino stalling? I don't know. Not really sure Zelda can do anything about Shino stalling. And I'm not to say that we're building a rule set around what Zelda's limitations are, but what I mean is that a lot of characters can abuse this in a bunch of matchups, and especially to the point where they have to take massive risks to take that person off the ledge, right? In certain matchups, and it's not necessarily targeting Fox. It's more like, ledge isn't fantastic design in Melee. There's probably too much invincibility on that freaking thing.
Yeah.
And someone said Zelda can neutral B. Neutral B? Are you serious right now? Shino Stalling's fully invincible. Why would neutral B work? That makes sense. I'm pretty sure there's nothing Zelda can do. I'd have to think about it, but Zelda can down B and Shino Stall herself. That's a good point. Zelda can transform into Sheik. But the general gist is that I think there is definitely some matchups where it's very difficult, and even if it's not impossible to beat, and I do think in almost every matchup, it's there is some answer, and we can develop that answer. But in the process, we lose a lot. We lose a lot of our soul, and we kill ourselves in the process. It sucks, man. It's not fun. No one's having fun there. And it's just, so that would be the argument against for it. Now, having said that, I'm not like super Mr. Ledge Grab limit or anything. I'm not super convinced of my own argument, right?
Okay.
I do think that like ultimately most top tiers have an answer, and people just need to get good. So I'm not super on one side, but I'm leaning towards having it personally.
Okay. I mean, yeah. For me, like, it would, at this point in time, like, it would take me a lot to implement a rule change. Like, I tend to be super conservative when it comes to that kind of adding a rule change of any sort, and that includes stages.
Yeah, me too. I think it should be like that. We should, first of all, we need to formalize our freaking rules. But we're never gonna the sad thing about rule set discussions is that there's so little uniformity in Smash around rules. It's the one thing that people just are really, really stuck up about, and are really, really like they have their beliefs, and it's like, these are my beliefs, and I'm not gonna listen to anything you say, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that in that I tell a TO to do something, I tell anyone in the production staff to do something, and something that's an event that's not mine, but which I'm advising on, which is like every event. They just listen to me, right? 90% of the time. But if I tell them, bro, mid-set coaching is lame. They don't. They're just like, it's like their fundamental beliefs just come into fruition. It's like, but I believe this is my thing. This is my expression. And I'm like, dude, whatever. Why? Right? I mean, we've seen how hard it is to formalize in all parts of Smash history, and one rule set. They just, we had a community split over Meta Knight ban or not Meta Knight ban. Like Wii U's gone through like 7 different rule sets and all that. It's kind of absurd how that is. So it's very TO by TO decision. And for me, as much as I care about this stuff, I also know that the 2 metrics I use to grow the scene and to judge the growth of the scene, which is live attendance, so basically how many attendance we have at our events, and viewership, and for the most part, I care about it because I care about the competition a lot and the integrity of competition. But something like mid-set coaching being legal or not legal doesn't change those 2 things. So I care about it, but not enough to be like, this one rule change is going to make or break the success of Melee. Now, things like Ledge Grab Limit might, right? Because if we get more grand finals, which are like that, who knows? Maybe that really does affect viewership long term and matter a lot. But mid-set coaching, not so much, right? The way you do your stage strikes, not so much. The way you do your bans, less so. It's more about like the integrity of competition that affects, and less so viewership and live attendance.
Can I tell you that mid-set coaching was incredibly awkward for me?
I don't even know did you do it? Like, you seem to go up and give them like 2 words and then go back.
I mean, like, what else am I gonna say there? I mean, I just said like, hey, like, just like, just don't be dumb. Like, you're getting grabbed too much. Like, just don't get grabbed, and then that's it. Like, you got this. Like, that's literally what I said to him. Because, like, what else can I tell him at this point?
You only have 30 seconds.
I just said, like, like, you're getting grabbed too much. Like, you just gotta be careful. Like, you got this.
Yeah. So,
oh god.
Someone said, "Don't homie stock them. We're good." Dude, homie stocks, they need to go. They need to go, Tafo. They're not good. But mid-set coaching. So here's the argument against it. It feels like almost everyone agrees with me. Like literally 90% of the world. There's a 10% of the world that just really bother me because they're not on board. So this is for you, though. You 10% who are for 10% who mid-set coaching.
The 10%ers.
Everyone knows. Look, there's the standard argument, right? Melee's a 1v1 game. Smash is a 1v1 game. Adaptation is a big part of the game, and blah blah blah. You can read Amsa's old post about coaching if you want to go down that road. I agree with all of it. And it is very true. I think that coaching gives you a significant advantage in a set, and I think you'd agree, right, Tafo? Like, coaching is a big deal.
If my player listened to me in it, then yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, but yours happens to not. But the players that do, I think it's a huge advantage, right? And with that as our basis, with everyone understanding, and I think the people who are for mid-set coaching also agree that coaching is a huge advantage. It just is. And their argument for it is, well, if everyone had a coach, we'd be better for it because we'd get better melee, right? I'd argue, no, not necessarily. That if we only wanted better melee, we'd allow macros. That's not necessarily why we make our rule sets what they are, right? That we want to test. Better melee to me is testing someone's adaptability skills. Better melee to me is testing someone's ability to read their opponent and not lean on their coach, right? So to me, I don't think it's better melee, even though on screen we might have more adaptations, or we might have more reads, or we might have more perfect play in that sense. So yes, on screen it translates, but to me it's not better melee on a fundamental level. But forgetting that argument, like that part has been tried out. The more important thing to me is that not everyone has a fucking coach, and most people don't. And I think the thing that sticks out to me is I look at, I think it was the first Wii U event that implemented mid-set coaching. I look at Zero versus Sue, the Japanese player at Frostbite, and Zero spent between every match, he was on the phone with Pierce, again, the same guy with the pop collars. He was on the phone with Pierce, and he was just getting all the advice. He was just really listening to him, right, and getting it all down. And Sue just sat there the whole time. He just sat there the whole time. Why? Because he's from freaking Japan. Who even knows if he got a SIM card for his phone to work and talk to other Japanese players? He doesn't even speak the same language as anyone in the room, right? Meanwhile, he's getting 2v1'd. He's getting 2v1'd out here, right? Like, how fair is that? And not only that, but this is going to happen all over the place. And I don't just mean for Sue. I mean, if you look at like an average low-level player who only has low-level friends versus more established player who has a coach, they're not gonna get the same sort of treatment, right? If you're an up-and-comer, you're not gonna have a full-time coach. You're not gonna have a Tafelkins, in your corner every time. You're not gonna have Duck, one of the best players in the world, giving you advice between games, right? What you're gonna have is you yourself, and that's it. You're just gonna be there, and you're gonna have to sit there and watch this dude get advice about how to beat you. Right? This guy who's already got every advantage in the world. He's already sponsored. He's already getting paid to freaking perform at this game. Has the best controllers. Already is probably getting the best practice available. And if you happen to take a game off him, his coach comes from the deep and from deep and gives advice against you. Like, how terrible does that feel? That feels terrible. And those guys, you can say, oh, just get better, get a good coach. It's just such that logic triggers me because it's not something I want to test. It's not something me personally, at least, wants to. I don't want to test your ability to have a good coach, and naturally, I know that the lower rungs of the competition, the lower rungs of the ladder, are not going to have coaches. So it just creates a disparity between the top and the bottom, and Melee's disparity is already bad enough as it is. The people that win always win. The people that lose always lose until they win. But it's usually pretty. There's levels, right? As Phil and Homie Waffles would say, there's levels in Melee, man. And you got a coach, and there's more levels. The levels get worse, and we don't really need that, right? We need a more even playing field between players, and you're never going to have both players having coaches the way our scene is set up. Maybe 10 years from now when there's enough money in the scene, but even then I don't think so. If you're an open event, you're not going to have resources for every single player to have a coach. So to ensure an even playing field, only way to do it is to not have mid-set coaches. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's not even – Jacksonville says then ban coaching outside of top 8 or top 6. There are times when this argument doesn't hold up. No, man, I actually think that's not true because guess what? The dude without a coach can make top 8 too. Like, what the hell, bro? Like, that's possible. And forgetting that, I also think everything Amsa says – Amsa this is Nihonjin, by the way, the European one – about how it should be a 1v1 game is also true. So there's a lot of ways to carve it out. But no matter how you dice it, this is not a good thing for our scene. And then there's the last point, and this is the one that doesn't get brought up enough, is it extends our broadcast schedules. Do you really want, on top of all the stalling Wizrobe to do, him to get another more time to talk to a coach? Is that what you really want? Is that what everyone wants? That's not what I want. I want more gameplay. Like, why do you guys want this freaking Council of Elders every time someone loses a game or wins a game? Why are we going to do that? How about we don't do that? How about instead of that, we have them play the goddamn game we're trying to watch?
Yeah.
Ted Chris says that time argument is weak as hell. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because 30 seconds adds up. 30 seconds in a run of show adds up so much, bro. And don't tell me commercial break. Are you serious? 30 seconds is a lot of time. You guys, 30 seconds between every game in a best of 5? That's 2.5 minutes. You had that over the whole tournament? That's hours. I know everyone agrees with me except one guy, Happy Coffee Time, but I'm trying to answer that 10% of people who are just who are somehow getting this stuff into rule sets.
I remember what was really funny was Matt.Zeb's argument for having a coach and tagging you.
Matt.Zeb's part of the 10%.
He was like, yeah, Wizzy didn't even beat Plup.
Wizzy doesn't beat Plup, ever. What do you expect?
It was funny. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I'll do it. I mean, maybe like Mango. Maybe there's an alternate universe where Mango loses like the next 5 sets to Crunchbox, and he goes like, okay, like I'm gonna use the mid-set coaching, and we're gonna call it the Mango.
So, chat and commentator curse fans and fans of justice everywhere. Every time a tournament does mid-set coaching, I want you to blow it up on Twitter, shame the TO, and if they still go through with it, it's on stream, I want you to boo your freaking heads off as it's happening. And then go back to watching the main line. But in between that time, I want you to just let it be known. Let it be known how stupid this thing is. Because, again, we just watched the top 8 of Smash Splash that we just analyzed, right? As if it was 1v1. But the truth is Armada didn't get coached that entire top 8 because he was fundamentally against it. He's a man with a strong moral compass, right? And he thinks it's a bad thing for the scene. So he didn't take coaching. And the other guy, his opponents did. My man got 2v1 that whole time. The whole time. That's not cool, man.
He got Gohan against the androids. Do you remember that? When Gohan had to fight.
17 and 18, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough life, man.
Tough life. It's probably not even going to be legal for any tournament the remainder of the year. Like, that's my realism coming in. Because, again, there's vast majority of people think mid-set coaching is bad. But every time it comes up, we have to at least talk about it because it's not fair to the people who didn't have coaches to not talk about it.
Yeah.
That Chinky says, coaching isn't bad at top level. Look at every 1v1 sport. Congratulations, Chinky. You're very wrong. Look at tennis. They don't have, like, come on, dude. There's so many examples. Come on, son. You think chess has coaching? No, dog. Jeez, you're a viewer of the commentator's curse. Educate yourself. God, you're supposed to be the cream of the crop.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, man.
Come on, man. I expect more. I expect more. I expect more. That's all I'm saying.
You do.
I expect more.
Okay, that's fair.
All right. Let's go to the next topic. We got so much.
All right. What do you have left on yours? Because you said you had like 10, and I only have 8 here.
We could briefly talk about arms.
Sick. So JC messages me and goes like, "Yo, Tafo, are you going to E3?" I'm like, "I guess now I am." And now I'm in the E3 Invitational for arms.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
And is there anything else to say about that?
Alex Valle is going to be there.
That's kind of cool.
Supergirl Kells. And I think they're doing Splatoon and Pokken exhibitions, and your boy D1's going to be a part of it.
Nice.
So, pretty hype.
Cool. So there's gonna be some smashers out there. If you want to watch Tafo lose at a game he doesn't play, go watch it.
I was going to be like, hey, like, you're wrong. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm going to get whooped.
Dude. Yeah. So, I think D1's had a copy for a while, so. Is he playing or he's just casting? I think he's just casting.
He's just casting with Vicky Kitty.
Okay, that's more fair because he's probably the best in the world right now.
Yeah. Vicky Kitty.
But yeah, you can check out Arms. Cool to see Nintendo doing something with competitive smashers out there at E3. Charlie Walk says Blur's just being a dick tonight. Holy moly! How am I being a dick? First of all, I'm like this all the time. What have I said that's mean? I haven't said anything mean in my opinion. Have I said anything mean?
Nope.
No,
Absolutely not.
Not even borderline. Come on, dude.
Absolutely not, man. Blur, never mean.
Exactly.
Never mean.
All right. So yeah, you guys can check that out. Other than that, I mean, I think we covered the basics of what we wanted to cover pretty good. Let's go to questions because I mean we're already at like hour 3 anyway, so we might as well start the questions.
Okay.
In case we miss anything, it's good. In case we miss anything that they can bring to our attention. Oh, we should talk about wait, before that, let's talk about Red Bull.
Okay.
So there's a Red Bull event. It's gonna be dope. It's in September. You guys should go. It's gonna be dope. It's at the Wiltern. There's a cool format. They've invited a bunch of players, and there's an open tournament that goes along with it. It's run by a bunch of homies that are really nice and cool people. So they're gonna do a good job, in my opinion. It's really one of the more unique events that we have in our scene. And I know it's not the traditional format that everyone's used to, but that's okay. You know, let's run something cool. Let's run something new. I think it's gonna have like a little unique storytelling to it. That's gonna be a little different from everything we've seen before. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a good event, and those guys always put on a really good show. So if you've seen anything else of Red Bull Esports events, you know their production is really top notch.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's what's your over under on the number of people you think are gonna make it?
There's like a cap, isn't there?
It's 256. It might be 256.
Yeah, so it's pretty capped, I think. I want to say.
All right, I might as well sign up for it now.
Charlie Walk's trolling me tonight. He said, "They're my friends, so it must be good." Quotations, Blur Logic. That's literally not what I said. They're my respected friends, so it must be good. I respect them. I have friends who I don't respect at all. There's friends who I think would never run a good tournament. You know? So there's some friends of mine would be horrible TOs. So, Charlie Walk, don't quote me out of context. Tafo, of your Smash friends, who would be the worst TO? Who would just do a terrible, terrible job?
Dunk.
Oh my god, that's the best answer you could give. Dunk would be such a bad TO.
I think he actually may have TO'd some Midwest from Central California tournaments.
Dunk would be. Did he really? Oh yeah, you're right. No, you can't put Dunk because he actually did really. He helped the Fresno scene stay alive for like a long time. You know what? We're being mean. Dunk was actually a legit TO, and actually he's done a lot for the scene.
He has.
Sense. It's just him as a character seems like a guy who'd be a bad TO.
He's actually done well.
Yeah. Yeah. People are posting Mango. Yeah, Mango would just hire other people to do it, so he'd be fine.
You know, I actually seen Mango, like, he came over once, and he actually set up the setup, and was, like, taking initiatives, like, oh, where are the cables? Oh, like, we should do this.
If he put his mind to it, he would at least hire some people who know what they're doing, I think.
Dude, have you seen, like, his Mango nerds? Like, he has an army of little critters that do everything for him.
Dude, Mango do a good job. So.
Like, Mango has... He has an overlay nerd, an emote nerd, mods. Did I tell you that at Smash
his production's godlike. His stream would look great. That's for sure.
At Smash and Splash, it was Sunday and we forgot that was Sunday because on Saturday and Friday the bar closed at 2. And I was there a little past midnight. I was like, "Oh, hey, can I get a drink?" And the bar was like, "Nope, no more drinks." So I texted Mango and I was like, "Dude, like he's being a weenie and he won't let me buy even though he got 2 other people drinks." So Mango goes like, "Oh, I'm like, somebody get your boy a beer." And within 5 minutes, I don't know how they knew where Mango was in the venue. He got 18 beers and like 3 different handles of liquor within 5 minutes.
That's crazy.
Like, if he needs to get something done, like the minion army will come and help him out. He would be one of the best TOs.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. Muti King or Wizzy would probably be the worst. If I were to go
I couldn't imagine them being good TOs. Yeah, that might be it. All right, let's go to questions.
Okay, I have a ton. Holy crap. How did Crush do versus Amso? What about Hugs? Okay, well, you guys saw the matches, so we're going to move on. If is Evo the next tournament Mango is going to enter? Very likely, yes. I'm going to have him enter a tournament as like at a local, so he gets used to like tournament environment like the week before. So next large tournament. Do you think Wizzy and Cheetah are going to get invited to the next Smash Summit? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Blur, have you ever said Cowabunga and meant it?
No.
Do you have any word on when the Metagame movie will be coming out? Do both of you make an appearance on it? I think they said winter of this year, and we both somehow make appearances in it, according to Travis. Okay, these questions are out of control. Has Blur ever thought about growing out? Has Blur ever thought about growing out a mustache like Wario and wearing yellow more often?
No, I have not thought about that. But I'm gonna put it into the bank and think about it. That sounds like a great idea.
That could be a great Halloween costume. Who do you think is the greatest Canadian Smash player in the history of the game up until now? Kirby Kaze.
Kirby Kaze.
Okay, there's another Mario or Sonic question. We get those every week. How much does Mutaking not winning Battle BC2 hurt his ranking? It seemed like it should have been an easy win. No, Chu said otherwise.
I think it significantly hurts his ranking because it solidifies the fact that Chu is his demon.
Yeah. So not only that, but Mutaking had a minor gap over Mango at 3. Now it's debatable on who you want to put as number 3 or number 4. So Mutaking separates himself from Hungrybox after last weekend and moves himself closer to Mango in the battle.
Yep. He's farther away from number 2 and closer to number 4.
He might even actually be number 4 too.
Yeah.
Do you think Wizzy is the number 1 Falcon? Pretty sure, yeah.
Yep, pretty easily.
Would you consider Zayn versus Leffen or Zayn versus Plup a bigger upset at the moment it happened?
Same versus Plup.
Zayn versus Plup, just given the context of it. By then, we knew Zayn was pretty good. Do you think, for at least Leffen, do you think top 8 for Melee has to start earlier than it did at Smash and Splash in order to get more views? I know Europe was hurting a lot for Smash and Splash, right?
I think that. So we tried to do this thing where Battle of BC top 8 and Smash and Splash top 8 were like so we tried to do this thing where it was Melee top 4 doubles, and then it was Battle of BC doubles, and then it was Smash and Splash singles, and then Battle of BC singles, something like that. I think is what we tried to do, if I'm remembering right, and it didn't work out at all because the events didn't run perfectly, like they weren't perfectly on time, and sets took longer than they should, or whatever. So they ended up being overlapping anyways, and the timing didn't work out perfectly. I think ideally you want top 4 Melee doubles to lead into top 8 singles, and I think that helps out viewership a lot. But if I'm being honest, and some people are like really like delving into the Smash and Splash numbers a lot, I personally thought the viewership was fantastic, considering it was on Gamers HQ TV, which is pretty much a no-name channel, at least up until this weekend. They did a good job, but like that channel had like no follow. I mean, when I say no, I mean like 0 pretty much followers before the event, and so I had to kind of grow it on the day of. It's disappointing that we have to do this so often, right? Like you look at other games, and when Riot was trying to grow the LCS, they put everything on /Riot Games, right? And when Rocket League is trying to grow their scene, everything's on /Rocket League, and they at least have one home. But for us, often the biggest viewership differences is simply because is it on a bigger channel or not, right? And there's only so many big channels. In fact, day 1 and 2, people didn't even realize this, but Melee Every Day was the secondary stream, and yet it had like triple the viewership of the Gamers HQ stream just because it was a bigger channel, right? The secondary stream was beating the mainstream because the mainstream was on a small channel. And similarly, like it had problems with like a lack of moderators. Like channels which are usually that new don't have that many moderators. So like during the weekend, I had to like constantly like moderate and like add moderators and stuff, and that was a real big struggle as a result. So I think that had to contribute more than just the time slots. The time slots didn't work out perfectly, and I think things ran a little long with between coaching and some of the other stuff, and that didn't help. But things running long is usually like generally a good thing, actually, for viewership. Like usually viewership keeps ramping up and getting better, or even if it tapers off near the end, it's all right because your total amount of minutes consumed, minutes watched by your viewers is in total more. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, you're not gonna hit the high peaks like that. So from my perspective, like I actually went into it expecting about 40, 45, just because I knew we'd have to be starting from the ground up with a new channel. The fact that we peaked at like 50 is really good with the circumstances. I just don't want us to have to deal with those kind of circumstances because it's not good for our game.
Yeah, I'm gonna John because we were guesstimating that we're gonna start at 8, so I had Mango start at 6, like warming up. That I'm gonna have to figure out a new routine, but that kind of hurt us because by the time it was like 10 o'clock, Mango was super gassed. I'm gonna once again have to work around that. So I don't want people watching this video in the future go like, "Oh, Taff was joining for Mango," but like I have routines on like when Mango needs to wake up and when Mango eats, so that we time it just right.
I think it ended at like what did finals end, like 1 a.m. In their time zone?
Yeah.
So it ended at 1 a.m. their time zone. It was like miserable o'clock in Europe. And in West Coast, I think I finished watching it like like really late too, on a Sunday, right? Like these things hurt, right? Like these things matter. And similarly, there's actually a lot of competition on Twitch at the time, right? Going on in the world. Like there was a bunch of big other esports streams that same weekend that we were competing for viewership with.
The NBA Finals.
And the NBA Finals, the freaking NBA Finals, right? So these things matter. I think it actually exceeded my expectation, but my expectation was built on the knowledge of the circumstances. So I don't really think it was really that out of line.
Let's see. Do you think it's better that Mango and Lucky don't qualify for Evo teams because there's a good chance that they don't show up anyways? Probably. We're gonna go watch Backstreet Boys actually in concert on Sunday.
That Backstreet Boys was a young Blur's first concert. First concert I ever went to was Backstreet Boys. Second concert I ever went to was Backstreet Boys. Third concert I went to was NSYNC.
Damn, you're tearing up my heart, Blur.
When I'm with you.
Yeah. I don't feel the same. But anyway, some of the players complain about top 4 teams on Sunday. Do you think teams finishing on Friday or having something worth watching that night is better?
Unless otherwise, unless I know there's like this fad of, hey, move doubles to Friday. But I want you to know if you do that, it's the worst thing you could do for doubles. It's literally the worst thing you could do for doubles. And I say this because you literally have to just look at the viewership numbers and you understand it plainly. Sunday is a huge boon and helps draw viewership towards the doubles competition naturally. And also, it does a lot for the singles numbers. If you look at Royal Flush, for example, we scheduled it perfectly, so it went from top 4 doubles into top 8. And I know a lot of people are attributing that viewership to Mango's run, but the truth is it was already hitting like 65K before Mango really did much. Like Mango went into losers and it was already at like 65K. Like and the tournament ended at 75K for a brand new tournament brand, right? So that tournament was going to hit 65 or more K with or without Mango's run. And I do think it aided it, but a little bit less than people think. The reality is that top 4 doubles into top 8 singles, like we did at Genesis, is so good for viewership. And it's so good for doubles, right? Like if doubles just ends on Friday, it hits, maybe 10, 15K at that event. Like maybe less because it's on Gamers HQ. But because it's ending on Sunday, it hits, what did it hit? Like it hit more than Wii U hit, right? Like 25, 30 or something like that. That's really good for doubles, and it gives more exposure for doubles, right? Like, would you guys not have wanted Genesis to have top 4 doubles on Sunday? Of course you would want it on Sunday, because it hit like 85K on Sunday. 88K, I think, was the peak for doubles. That's insane, right? Versus if Genesis finished it on Friday, it hits like 30K maybe, right? Like, if Teams is on Friday, as G Pipe says, people don't watch as much because some people only tune in for the finals day. So what you should do for player stamina is you should probably build in a pre-show before top 8 and a little bit more of a built-in break for those players between top 4 doubles and top 8 singles to give kind of the show a break and give them more time. But on the whole, if you just look at it in a pure mathematical standpoint, it's way too good for doubles as an event and as a format for our community to take it out, to put it anywhere but Sunday.
Alrighty. Have you ever had spaghetti and meatballs and a spaghetti or and a meatball roll off your plate and land on the floor? Yes, and it's awful. How's the water park at Smash and Splash? It was pretty good. They actually had an indoor water park on top of everything, so it was amazing. All right. What would it take for there to be a tournament with a pot size of $1 million? Do you see that ever happening in real life?
I'm not gonna say never, but not anytime soon, baby. It's gonna be really tough. It would probably require some form of Nintendo involvement. Like I don't see a world where it happens otherwise. In order to get that kind of money, you need large amounts of sponsorship dollars.
Or DLCs, something. DSC
or
fundraiser.
some way to make that money sustainable and justifiable. Or you need one rich dude, I guess. That would also do it. Well, actually, no. That would there would be complications around that as well. But
Wait, why? Oh yeah, and okay,
yeah, there'd be complications.
yeah.
Um, so you would need some major sponsors, and those sponsors, without direct Nintendo licensing, would have a hard time buying in to an event that's unofficial. And similarly, TOs couldn't go off and sell broadcast rights, whether to the different streaming platforms like Twitch, YouTube, whatever, or to TV or whatever, because they're unlicensed and they can't get those sponsors. So I don't really see how they conjure up that $1 million. Maybe you crowdfund it. Still, again, there's some problems there. So like we have like a bit of a glass ceiling because of our pub dev situation, our publisher development situation. So I don't see it happening without Nintendo support, really. So that would have to change. Melee HD launch event. Maybe that's how.
When a full moon comes out, does Blur turn into the Crimson Blur Wolf?
No.
Is Hax ever going to return? I guess this is like implying a legality related thing. We'll do that on another episode. I feel like that could be its own can of worms. What's Sheikah's biggest strength and biggest weakness? Sheikah's biggest strengths are her long limbs. Her biggest weakness is people ceasing her moves.
Sounds about right.
European players still haven't really been growing their brand name since Smash Summit. Do you think they are justified in complaining about US bias when they aren't really doing anything? Has Ice...
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Basically, they're saying, like, you know how at the summit, like, they complain, like, it's, like, a U.S. bias and, like, it doesn't favor Europeans, but he's commenting on how the European top players don't seem to be really pushing their branding.
Potentially, but I think that naturally they're drawing up from a smaller pool of fans, and so that's just naturally going to happen. I think maybe in the future the summit thinks of a system where, I don't know, there's one guaranteed European voting slot or something, or one international guaranteed voting slot. You can lump Japan in there or something, and that guarantees an international player. Maybe that's one way of doing it. And I tend to be in favor of that because I think that it's going to be very hard for them to compete with, like, California, for example, otherwise.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think HBox leaving his set to congratulate Zayn with Nightmare after Nightmare already did 22% damage to him was a grimy move and generally unnecessary?
I think it's pretty irrelevant. Like, you can analyze it however you want, but, like, who cares, bro?
Yeah. I think it's silly for face value, but I don't know. I'm not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
With the hand pain being an issue in the community, do you think more Smash players are going to be done before age 30? Or are hand pains genetic and more rare than people assume?
I think more people are going to take care of their hands, and I think...
And not play 8 hours in a row without...
break, yeah. I think hand pain does naturally develop in a Smash player's career, but I do think that, like, in the ideal world where we have the perfect trainers and the best medical staff and all this other stuff, I really do think Smash careers extend to, like, 40, potentially 40 plus. And I expect a career to start from, like, age 16 to, like, 40 is maybe even earlier than 16. So the length of our careers is quite long in comparison to traditional sports. Even with those hand issues, I think I'd be shocked if it extended far past 40. If a player could really keep up past then, but, you know, hey, maybe somebody eventually is like the 45-year-old who is able to still stay competitive. But yeah, that person would probably have to be in extraordinary physical shape to, like, keep their reflexes up to par, and their hands have to be, you know, have been, you know, taken care of for all those years.
The Gummel run in the green last year, it seemed like a major hit. I actually don't know this. And, yeah.
I'm not going to comment on a tournament's budget.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Does it really take a rocket scientist to decide the ranking of players? No. How's life without having to put your glasses on first thing in the morning? It feels great, man. I almost forget that I had glasses.
Tafo without glasses is a whole new Tafo.
It is.
Yeah.
Just like Nintendo. Nintendo also got it. Do you think commentators could record all their lines before the tournament and no one would ever notice? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Next.
What player would you expect to do a backflip on stage if they won a super major?
True.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I think he's the only one potentially capable of doing it.
Yeah.
What Melee player would Melee be more popular if the players pretend to be their characters the whole tournament? What are these questions? No.
Tafo, you gotta skip some questions occasionally.
Okay, Tafo, could you make a Melee science video about why all the other levels got banned for tournament play? That'd be interesting to see the history. I can do that. That sounds pretty cool.
That does sound pretty cool.
I think Smash should be like tennis where you can prepare with the coach before and after sets, but during the game it's 1v1. Do you think that's a good idea? I mean, I think that's what most people agree to.
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying, dude. But yeah. Thanks for being on board.
Blur, tell TOs to ban notches, please. Do you not think they are broken AF? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay.
Next.
Thoughts on mid-set coaching. Thoughts on mid-set coaching in basketball? Yeah, I like it. How did Mitiki manage to take Chu to Game 5 last stock and winners finals of BC2? Did he improve in any area specifically, or he just had a better mindset? Probably a better mindset. He wasn't defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, how did Meet King take him to Game 5 in the first set? Like, what was it?
Yeah, because that guy's really good. Doesn't mean he's doing the right game plan.
Is it just me, or is Shroom's run at SNS 3 being overrated? He didn't beat any gods, and his wins versus Plup, while good, feels similar to when HBox beat Mingos Falco. Well, you got to do Shroom like that. I agree. For the all intents and purposes of me working with Immortals, we're gonna say that Dwan still sucks dick.
Oh, he said it, dude. Put it on a poster.
All right, next. What was your opinion of Mango's homie stock? You take the good, you take the bad, and there you have the facts of life. All right. Copy pasta is going to skip. Of Westball's Axe and Plup, which two makes the best doubles pairing? Who's the ideal teammate for the odd one out?
I think it's probably Plup Axe, and then Westball's the odd one out. And I don't know who Westball sticks with after that.
Poor Westballs. He's actually gotten so much better in teams, too.
He is. He's pretty good, man. But I mean, Plup Axe is better, right? Like, in general?
Plup Westballs was actually a really good team.
Plup West is really good, but is it better than Plup Axe?
It might be. They're not. I mean, Plup Axe is not even being PPU in SFAT anymore.
Yeah, but I think they have probably a better chance.
They've lost the last 2 to 3 sets against them.
Well, that's one of the best teams in the world. I mean,
yeah, but
West that's not necessarily bad.
I mean, West and Plup almost beat Android and Armada.
That's true. So, are you going to say an opinion, or are you just going to?
I would say West Plup, and then you put Axe with SUJ.
You're not going to put SJ with Shroom? SJ Shroom is the thing.
No, Shroom. SUJ hates teaming with Dewan and thinks he sucks dick.
Wow, once again.
Not my words.
I mean, that sounds like a quote if I've ever seen one.
Well, if you looked at teams, Johnny bailed him out of a lot of stuff.
Dang.
Johnny's words, once again, not mine.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, next question.
What do you think about the current state of Smash production? Lots of experimentation has been played out, like you mentioned, Big House 6, and you say how it's healthier and such earlier in the show. What do you think is the next step production-wise?
So, I think some things are getting much better. Like our camera shots are getting better. People have understood the value of free roam cams, and like multiple like the camera shots are just getting way better, and like the video mixing is getting way better. So like you look at Smash and Splash, there were times where they cut to the player like almost exactly like perfect frame right after the game ended, and I was like so impressed. The guy who was handling the video switcher was clearly doing a good job. Sometimes they went to the crowd, and I prefer them to go to the players, but overall, like the video switching felt pretty crisp, and I liked that. That was good. I'm weird in that I'm losing favor of the head-to-head setups. I don't know about you, Tafo, but I really do miss when we had one clean shot of the players in the crowd in the same picture. So I think maybe head-to-head for doubles and the traditional system for singles is where I'm leaning. Again, having now experimented with both, I think that might still be better. Like I really do like getting that picture of one dude salty and one dude like exuberant in the exact same TV, and it feels really unnecessary to have head-to-head. Ultimately, like I'm not really sure what we gain, but I do think it's obviously better for teams, and I think miking up the players has been like a really good innovation for that. That's really helped. So that's where I'm on that. I think like the best thing, the number one thing we can improve is making our stages better. Like I don't think most of our stages and overlays are really there yet in Smash production. We're getting much better with the video switching. Small improvements are still being made in audio. Like I think crowd mics, people are starting to understand their importance, and like getting better mixing there has gotten better and better. And I'm sure like if you compare us to old videos, our commentator levels, audio levels are better than they used to be. So those are really good improvements. Often that's mixed better, and I think that's good. There's still the odd tournament where I think the crowd mic, the crowd audio could be done a lot better, but still it's getting better for the most part. So I think the stages just don't look as good as they need to be, and similarly like emceeing is really underdeveloped from a talent perspective. No one's really good at it yet. I'd say pretty much everyone's bad at it, and some are especially bad at it.
I think like the only thing you really have to do is like you introduce the players and you go like you like list off like one thing really hype about them and say who's got this man, and then you say who's got this man, and you allow them to cheer.
You know what? Like, instead of filling in the blanks, I just say just watch some Golden Boy videos, man. Literally, just go and watch some like regular ass esports stuff from other games and watch Golden Boy, or watch the Wii U event we had at PAX East with Golden Boy. Widely considered the best in the business at emceeing stages at events. Like, watch him, copy him, do that. Stop looking at other Smash people because you're only going to get worse. But yeah, I would do that. Or maybe go watch traditional sports or whatever. But I think copying esports is usually a little bit easier because you understand what like the Twitch audience wants and things like that. So just watch Golden Boy, man. Watch the best in the business, and then you understand it. So I think emceeing could be a lot better. I think our run of shows needs to be way cleaner. And one big improvement I'd like to see is the death of wait timers. Like, and that goes with the run of show. Like realistically, first of all, there should never really be a wait timer that's larger than like 5 to 10 minutes max. But probably not. Like, watch the LCS broadcast and see what their biggest timer is. Right? It's very short. And when you hit a stream with a 30-minute timer or more, like I remember at the Beast broadcast had like 2+, like they had just so many, like it felt like a third of their broadcast was a wait timer, right? And that really bushes your viewership and gets like everyone mad at your event. So just don't do that. Anything you can do to beat that is better, and that includes the beginning of the event. Like if at the beginning of the event, I mean, last week at DreamHack Austin, you remember, we had to fill in a lot of time, and that's very common. because the TO staff isn't really fully up to gear, and they don't really have their matches in place. The TO staff is usually really focused on starting the tournament and getting all the pools up and running, and so their TO runner often doesn't have a match to give you, right? And so the beginning of the event can be really awkward sometimes for commentators, and they often have to fill in a lot of dead air. So that we should remove that. That'd be big. As I've explained before, I think rebroadcasts and preferably seamless rebroadcasts, where you go from the end of the day to a rebroadcast to the beginning of the day, would help viewership a lot because you would never go down. You would always stay up, and it would be a big deal. Even like we had a non-continuous rebroadcast on Melee Every Day last weekend with Smash and Splash, and that thing had like 1,500 viewers for no reason, no good reason, right? And so that just goes to show, like, you could really, really get a lot of viewers off rebroadcast that add towards your total minutes watched. And it's really good for the European viewers because they at least, like, if they're gonna miss your tournament, they get somewhere where they can talk and chat and watch together, right? And people really want that. Like, I know Europeans especially are really, really fiending for that, and it'll be a big deal. I think multilingual streams have been a focus, but we haven't really been able to make them consistent. And I mostly put the blame not on the TOs there, but that there's no one in those other countries and those other languages that is like really, really being insistent about it and making their own production company around this. It's still the biggest opportunity available in Smash. If you're Smash in Espanol or any of many of the other Spanish broadcasters, or if you're a French broadcaster, Le French Melee, whoever, and you're listening, you should get two commentators in a room. Or if you're a commentator, like if you're a Spanish language broadcaster, or if you're a French language broadcaster, or you're a Japanese language broadcaster, these tournaments will let you restream them. They will let you do it. Alex19 is doing it in English, right? It's not that big a deal, and they usually would prefer it if they had more languages. It's not like they want to have a French stream. They want to have a Japanese stream. It's a thing they want. But the problem is that no one's going out there and doing it. And if someone went, like if Foster, for example, went out and just fucking commentated all the American tournaments in French on his channel would become one of the biggest in Smash because he would get his entire language base, like, with all the best content. He'd get every big tournament on his channel. Yes, it would be only in French, but still, every big tournament, that's a big deal. And you see this, you see this in other games where, like, for example, Beyond the Summit, one of the biggest channels on Twitch, period, was the English language rebroadcaster or restreamer of Dota content. And that's how they were built, right? So it's a huge opportunity that a lot of people are missing by not commentating over English content. Huge opportunity that people are just not doing that. So that could be improved. Again, stages can be improved. Overlays and how we use them, advanced stats and how we use them, TAFO stats and how we use them. I really like that we started doing stage striking and stuff into the main overlay. That's cool. At Smash and Splash, I think that's cool, and we should think about stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, I already gave a ton of ideas, but those are some of the ones that I'm.
Any more, and you have to pay for a consultation.
Yeah, come on, man. But those are some of the big ideas.
All right, next question. I vaguely remember mention of a Mango local in SoCal. Does any plan for this exist? I know they're collaborating. If I were to give my gut answer, and Blur could attest to this, most likely trying to find a venue.
Yeah, man.
I'm
not going to announce for them if there is or isn't anything going on.
Okay, so my naive sense would probably tell, like, venues are annoyingly hard to find, and that'd probably be my guess on why it hasn't happened yet. Any updates to the old-time legacy of Chu after his recent streak?
Where do we have him? Like 7 or 8 all time?
Yeah. Is he ahead of PC? He's ahead of PC, right?
I think he is.
Who else are we debating?
Above him is Azen still, right?
So what does he need to do to pass Azen?
keep this up for a year. Then I think he passes it if he keeps it up for a year, right? If he ends the year as like top 7 or 8 player for like a whole year, yeah.
Okay.
Would that do it? I don't know, because Azen has just a lot of big wins, like tournament wins, and Chu doesn't have one yet. So it would feel weird because Azen's peak is still quite a bit higher than.
But what if like
peak
Chu
results-wise.
gets like top 6 for like another 10 years?
Well, I mean then the longevity probably tips even the peak argument away, you know. But it would sure have been nice if Chu had won DreamHack.
I think Chuin versus Azen's like the lower tier version of like Hungrybox versus Mew2King. King. Like in terms of
Yeah, I
peaks
see
versus
that where
like
Mew2King has the
longevity.
higher. Yeah, Mew2King has more longevity, but I think HBox's peak results in during its turn span was a little higher than Mew2King's peak results in 07.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what are the benefits of having a 1-day, 2-day, or 3-day tournament?
Were the benefits?
Or like I don't know. I guess like the positives of each of those kind of models.
Okay, so there's pros and cons. 3 days really cool because you can have a finals day and you can make your spectating experience really good, and you can like kind of drag your content around. Like you're less worried about like logistically finishing the
I'm
event.
gonna get a cup of water.
Okay, go ahead. You're not really stressed out. You're kind of just you're more worried about making a really good broadcast and making sure like things are run efficiently, but like a few mistakes aren't gonna like sink you, right? 1-day tournaments are extraordinarily stressful for a TO, but they can be really good for live attendance. So you're gonna have to charge less because it's only a 1-day tournament, but like you're gonna get people who are able to come because they don't have to take so many days off work or something, right? So 1-day tournaments are good for that, and 2 days are kind of in the middle, right? You're not going to be able to fit in like Wii U top 4 doubles to Wii U top 8 to Melee top 4 doubles to Melee top 8 all in a 2-day tournament. Like you won't be able to broadcast all that on the same stream back to back to back, but you will be able to do a middle ground and probably give both top 8s their own time, and maybe you'll separate the Wii U and Melee streams and like really like have a different stage for both. So 2-day has its place, but typically it sacrifices a lot on the content side. But yeah, I'd say those are the major differences.
All right. What will you or the Blur do to stop the ensuing violence waged by Liquid Hungrybox against CRTs?
I actually feel bad because like I made like a tongue-in-cheek joke about how haha he got karma from hitting the chair or whatever he did, and like his mom tweeted at me and said that tweet was mean. I'm like, Hungrybox mom, I'm not trying to be mean. Hungrybox mom, chill out. Like, what? And apparently, did he like tweet about like his leg in a cast or something? Did I see that right?
He sprained his toe.
All right, that's it. I'm deleting the tweet.
So when Mama comes in, like, you know, you gotta chill. Can I tell you a funny story? I already told the stream earlier before we started.
Ooh, but the tweet has 2K likes. Can I delete a tweet like that?
No, you definitely can't. You're in too deep. Look at how many impressions it got. Like,
let me hit this impression button real quick, bruh. Bruh, that's a lot of impressions. A lot of engagements. All right, but Hungrybox mom. Oh, I'm gonna delete it.
so I gotta explain the phenomena that
I deleted it, Tapo.
Okay, good man. I witnessed one of the funniest juxtapositions at the airport on our way home. Mango losing his passport, has no ID, so he's getting investigated by TSA.
Mm-hmm.
Picture on the left. TSA man's calling, asking him what streets he's lived on, trying to call his mom. Like they're trying to verify that is indeed Joseph Marquez. Meanwhile, in the background, because I'm waiting, because I have my ID, I see Crunch rolling Hungrybox in a wheelchair, getting his ID checked. And this is all happening within a 10-foot radius of one another. And I just started dying. Mango for his laziness of not getting a new ID, and Hungrybox for his hubris for kicking the chair and injuring his toe, which required him to go on a wheelchair. All this within a 10-foot radius. I was done.
And they tell you that Smash isn't a physical sport.
It was hilarious.
So, God, I had 2K likes, man. Why? That's like Justin Bieber numbers, man.
It is.
You know, I bet I can find a tweet by Justin Bieber that has like less than 2K likes. Oh my God, I'm wrong. He literally just put a kissy face and had 301K likes. All right, sorry, Justin Bieber. I should have never doubted you. Guy rules the world. Okay. All right, Blur. You still got ways to go.
All right. Anyway, did you get to see the pictures in the stream?
Yeah.
It was really funny how everything unfolded. It was just straight like a sitcom Seinfeld moment. What is the biggest obstacle that prevents players that go 3-2, 4-2 from really making moves? Well, I mean, if you're already going 4-2 at a major, you're already the top 10 to 15 percentile, and from there the mountain gets steep, and you just gotta constantly just iterate and improve. I'd say the low-hanging fruit is trying to touch of death every time you get an opening.
Yeah. Nelly's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Why did Blur choose the mod? Okay, I'm gonna skip that. Blur said that HBox is not a top teams player. Is that because he's not good at teams, or because he cannot find a consistent partner that would complement Puff nicely?
I mean, he's still a top teams player. I mean, it's hard to make a list of 15
well, relative to a single
players.
scale. You know, there's players like Android, Reno, PewPew who magically turn into gods and get better in teams. There are some people that from singles to doubles look a little worse.
Yeah, he's worse than he is in singles, but he's still like a top 15 teams player. Like, he's still HBox. So, consistent teammate would help him a lot, absolutely. But I think there's also like fundamental things that aren't great about how he approaches teams, so it's a little bit of both.
I just think that if you're playing Puff as an aggressor, like, you're fundamentally playing the team wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hungrybox likes taking initiative. It's like, let me think. It's trying to make LeBron James a 3-point shooter. Like, there's so many other things you can have him do. And if you're making LeBron shoot threes, then there's something wrong.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, if Smash 7 was announced today, what top 10 players would you think would be invited? I think we went over the top 10. Just to recap, we'd have the big 6, so 5 of them. Plup, Chudat, Wizzy, Axe, and then take your pick of number 10. I've probably forgot somebody.
Probably a teams person, considering what they did last time.
Oh yeah, I forgot SFAT.
Maybe like
I forgot SFAT. SFAT, and then
Yeah.
your choice of Axe or Druckfox, or if you want to add a teams player.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on the arguments for mid-set coaching? I think we already covered it a million times. All right, Skip. What do you think about streamers restreaming tournaments live?
I think as long as they ask permission from the TO, it is 100% okay. And if the TO doesn't have a problem with it, then the TO always has the opportunity to tell them to take it down. And most don't, so it's fine.
Is Melee doubles top 4 to Smash 4 or top 8 to Melee's top 8 a viable alternative?
No. That defeats the purpose. Switching games loses viewers. You want to do Wii U top 4 to top 8 to top 4 to top 8. That's what you want to do.
All right. Let's see. We're just refreshing the page. Thoughts on notches? We'll talk about that another day. If tournaments go so negative on money, then why are venues fees so low? $60 for a 3-day event seems crazy.
I mean, I kind of agree, but you got to keep in mind that Evo even charges only $70. So
Well, that's only for like 2 days, and then you have to pay for the third day thing.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But Evo in the past, before it had its Manly Bay Theater, was just $70. So I think most TOs are afraid that they'll lose money by increasing the price, and that's often true. Like if you host an $80 event, you'd lose money by raising your price, as in you just lose attendance because you lose attendance for every dollar you increase. So it tends to be that like the $60-$70 sweet spot is where you make money in a 3-day event, or where you're optimizing for money, and often even that optimization doesn't lead you to be profitable. So it's really difficult to just run an event simply on ticket sales. We probably have to do more than that.
Sash and Splash, by the way, having an indoor water park, and shouts to TO. They gave us a hotel room with the view of the water park outside our window. Anyway, I'm gloating. Who has the best mentality in Melee, and who has the worst? I don't know. I think Armada's pretty consistently good.
Armada's probably the best.
Hungrybox with
Hbox might be the best actually.
Hbox with Crunch Assist. He seems kind of lost when Crunch isn't there.
There's like it's an ebb and flow thing. It's not always the same. Like there's definitely been times where Armada has like lacked confidence, especially in certain matchups or against certain people, and he's hit walls. And I think that we've seen every top player hit walls at some point, and not they're all human. But if I pinpoint to somebody, it'd probably be Armada. Worst mentality? I mean, what, like Mewtwo King?
I think half our top 20 is pretty bad, pretty questionable.
People are mentioning Chu's mentality. Chu's mentality is really good.
I feel like Chu just doesn't care. He's in his own world. Like
he just thinks that people suck, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he said that in an interview.
But I mean, he's always been like that. He literally just thinks.
I think
he doesn't respect people that much. He's not like wrapped up in the whole gods crap like everyone has.
I think Chu and Mafia roughly accurately explains Chu in real life.
Yeah.
How does Leftman losing to Zayn hurt his ranking, especially considering he is number 66 in the world? Considering his run and what else he did in that tournament, not at all.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Is Amoon losing to Smash Bob SquarePants the best upset of the year?
I mean, it's the biggest by ranking, right?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest like discrepancy of rank. Yeah.
That guy's not even top 200. That guy's not on the list.
Yeah. He might make top 200 just by virtue of being the Moon, though. Who knows?
Yeah, like now he might be top 200. But yeah.
Have you guys watched Scar and Toph show the reads? What do you think of it? I tune in. I didn't watch the last two. I think it's kind of weird when I watched the Mango episode when like Mango wasn't really playing for some reason, even though they had him there. So I wish that they would let the guest play more. I guess is the only critique I have.
The reads. Dude, I just love those guys. So you know, I've watched a bunch of it. I think it's good.
I think it's good content overall. I mean, so the only criticism I would have is that they should let the guest play a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, you guys should watch it. It's fun.
How would I assess PewPew's year so far? Quiet.
It's more my my national pew pew nowadays is more focused on doubles than singles. Honestly, singles it seems to be have been the same for a while. Like, it hasn't changed much. He's a top 10 to 15 player. Pretty much been the same thing for a long time. With occasional ups and downs. But yeah, it's been about expected, I'd say. Right?
Yeah. Let's see. What do I think about Hug
Okay,
saying
top 10 to 20, because everyone's trying to correct me. Like, sometimes top 10 to 20, sure. But continue.
What do we think of Hugs saying he'll puff Ditto if he plays a puff in bracket? To that, I have this video link that I will post in Twitch of Hugo playing other characters. Mad respect to Hugo, though. He improved a lot this year. But this is what happened last time he tried to pick up a secondary.
Did you four-stock him?
JV3.
Nice. Oh, with your Fox.
Yeah.
You JV. Oh my god. You JV'd him with Taffa Fox?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dude, I don't. If he's switching characters because of Prince Abu, like, doesn't Duck destroy Prince Abu? Like, is the character the problem? Like, I'm sure Duck does not struggle with Prince Abu.
I'm gonna have to ask the Michigan guys.
I'm quite sure Duck destroys him. So why is Samus the problem all of a sudden? I don't understand.
I don't know. Oh no, Duck. The chat saying that Duck barely beats him, and Abu takes sets from him.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah. It's a type of matchup where you lose quick or you win long games.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's bad for Hugs to learn other characters. It's probably going to make his Samus better.
Yeah.
Like, it's just good. He's like at a level where having a secondary is probably going to help his tournament performance. So it's probably a good idea, and it'd be kind of cool to see Hugs' style applied to other characters. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
We were I'm not going to mention explicit details, but a comment I got on Wave Dash Games was like he made a note of how I played a certain character and how Hugo played certain characters and how we drew inspiration from our mains, even though like we played the same character, like the actual character was the same.
I see.
It was pretty funny.
Well, so chat's saying that Abu basically doesn't take sets from
Okay.
Duck, and I tend to believe that. It might be that he can take games or it's close, but I mean that falls in line with what I think. Duck it's Duck, right? So
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
gonna win. He's gonna win.
How
So,
would we
I don't
rank-
think Samus is his problem, but I do think it's probably good for Hugo's development as a player to pick up more characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would we rank Zane after his wins over Leffen and Plup now that people know his wins over Plup was a fluke? I think the big thing, so I talked to the Melee Stats guys, the guys that do the spreadsheets, the articles. Apparently, like, he struggles against Law. I don't think he's taken a set off of Junebug. He loses to Plank, loses to Smash God. His record in MDVA is not very good. But that
Who are
being
you
said,
talking about? Who are you
Zane.
talking about?
Zane.
Continue.
So I don't know. I think he's really good. I think he's really solid. I think he might border on the territory of being a little bit overrated, given like his local performances that no one really knows about. Although I have tremendous respect for Zane. Like, I think he's going to be really good.
Does he really lose to Plank?
I think he does. That's what they're saying. Oh, I can actually get the chat logs.
Okay.
They actually look at everything. They have eyes everywhere. Even Cool Line beat Zane.
Who's Cool Line?
That Ice Climbers that beat Leffen in a game.
I don't want to hear it anymore.
Very negative against Laud and Smash God. Multiple losses to Plank. He lost to Jerry and Cool Lime, and he's winless against Junebug.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think he might be one of those type of players that does really well nationally. Who knows? I mean, I love his gameplay. So, like, I have tremendous respect for him.
I think it's hella good.
Fleur, do you ever have time off? You are at work at 11 p.m.
The grind never stops, bro. I love this game. I love my job.
Okay. Well, speaking of jobs, and conveniently it's 11 o'clock, I have work early tomorrow, so that will conclude this lovely edition of the Commentator's Curse. Thank you, Blur, for being on. We got some Blur rants, and if you missed out on this show, it's going to be up on YouTube soon. Right after we disconnect, I will log it in.
Someone make timestamps for us, please.
Yeah.
Please make timestamps. It'll help everyone out. Be a homie.
I'll give you $5.
Tafo will give you $5. I'm gonna double it up. I'll give you $5 too. 10 whole bucks on the line. So please give us timestamps. All right. Good stream, Tafo.
Alrighty.
Log off.
Yep. Wait, actually, we gotta host somebody.
We said
we'll
$10. That's like 2 hours of commentary in Smash Brothers.
We'll host Hugs.
Okay.
Let's go, Hugs. Okay.